The contract remains, the danger deepens, and Yun-Chi returns from the mission with Xia Qingyue carrying news that cannot be ignored. A poison has already been sealed into place, and in just 6 hours it will fully surface. In Heaven-Defying Sovereign Part 70, Qianye Ying'er watches her father's rage with cold amusement, while the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark tightens its hold on Yun-Chi. The countdown has begun, and every hidden motive is about to be exposed. Royal Father, to think that you would actually get so angry because of that old man's Southern Sea, this is so rare. At some point of time, Qianye Ying'er had appeared in the temple, or perhaps she had always been there. After all, she had managed to perfectly conceal her presence from even Jasmine before. How can I not be angry? Qianye Fanchen found it hard to quell his rage. If he was not able to poke at my weakness, why would he personally rush here all the way from the southern divine region? All these years, we have been secretly competing for second place among the king realms with the Southern Sea, but no one has truly been able to suppress the other. Now that we have lost the 3 Brahma gods, how could he not jump at the opportunity to kick us while we're down? Royal Father, don't worry, Qianye Ying'er coolly replied. This is the Eastern Divine Region. It won't be so easy for him to extend his tentacles here. Also, that old man Southern Sea is merely trash who will die on top of a woman sooner or later. He's not worthy of such anger from Royal Father. HMPH, and he's even less worthy of coming near me, Qianye Ying'er. No, Qianye Fanchen slowly shook his head, however. Ying'er, you must remember these words. You have never met the true Southern Sea God Emperor. The part of him that he shows you is not his true self. He is smitten with you and allows you to order him around only because he is willing to let it happen. It was also because this was the only way he could get close to you and obtain you. But right now he's found an even better method. We have no choice but to carefully consider this matter. Ha, what a joke! Qianye Ying'er coldly laughed. With just him alone, he better be joking. If he really pisses me off, I will make him understand the consequences of his actions, even if he is the Southern Sea God Emperor. The one who understood Qianye Ying'er the best in this world was undoubtedly Qianye Fanchen. And Qianye Fanchen was also the one who understood the Southern Sea God Emperor the best. He lowered his voice and said, "Let me say this again, don't compare Nan Wansheng to your other previous toys. As the #1 God Emperor in the Southern Divine Region, his schemes and methods will definitely not be inferior to anyone else in this universe. So, what have you gained from your trip to the Snow Song Realm?" Qianye Ying'er asked. "No good news." Qianye Fanchen slowly took a few slight breaths and more or less suppressed his anger before he frowned and said, "Let's not discuss this matter for the time being. Before I left the Snow Song Realm, Yun-Chi suddenly brought up the suggestion of helping me cleanse away the evil infant devilish energy by himself. And he also said that he could visit the Brahma Monarch God Realm along the way. Ying'er, what do you think his intentions are?" "Because of me." A strange light slightly flashed in Qianye Ying'er's golden pupils. "I've thought about it the whole way, and other than that, there can be no other reason." Qianye Fanchen said, "Back then, you planted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark on him, and that formed an irreconcilable grudge between the two of you. Even if he ended up safe and sound in the end, he will definitely not be able to forget this matter. Now that he has the heaven-smiting Devil Emperor as his backing, what do you think he will do?" Qianye Ying'er smiled coldly. Not only was she not worried, but rather her slightly upturned lips were full of contempt and disdain. "So you think it's possible that he could order the heaven-smiting Devil Emperor to kill me? Even if he could, a person who needs to borrow the strength of others to take revenge and show off his might can only be rubbish even if he inherited the strength of a creation god. Do you think he would be worthy of my fear and apprehension? Royal Father, you should tell me more about the heaven-smiting Devil Emperor. I'm much more interested in that." As for Yun-Chi, Qianye Ying'er's golden pupils narrowed slightly. "He'd better come." "We're almost there," Xia Qingyue said as she looked at the star region outside. "Where are we going exactly? Brahma Monarch God Realm?" Xia Qingyue's aura shook slightly. A purple light flashed across her devastatingly beautiful eyes. "As expected," Yun-Chi replied thoughtfully. "Did you ask me to say those words to Qianye Fanchen because of this? When we get to the Brahma Monarch God Realm, you only need to do one thing." Xia Qingyue looked at the space outside the profound arc fly past them as she gently said, "Like the last time, use your light profound energy to cleanse Qianye Fanchen of the evil infant devilish energy. Don't think of anything else, and do not have any unnecessary thoughts or make any unnecessary movements. Other than that, when you are cleansing him of the devilish energy, Don't use your full strength, but don't be too obvious about it either. An effectiveness of about 70 to 80% will do. Just these things? That's right. All right. Qianye nodded. Although he did not have a clue about what Xia Qingyue wanted to do, he did not ask any further. Just as Xia Qingyue said, if he knew too much, it would surely be on his mind and would result in him exposing their plan. Just what kind of a person was Qianye Fanchen? No mistakes could be made in front of him. You are really not going to ask me anything more about it? Qianye agreed so readily that it actually slightly surprised Xia Qingyue instead. Trust is a must between a husband and wife, Qianye said beamingly, childish. He originally thought that Xia Qingyue would be at least a little touched, but instead, she indifferently delivered a single word to him. Qianye could not take this, so it's still my fault even when I trust you. Don't easily trust anyone. Her voice was gentle, but he did not know why she repeated her words. Does this include you? Qianye inclined his eyes towards her. Yes, Xia Qingyue replied without hesitation. Qianye, you are not an ordinary person. The world you have to face is so much more complicated than an ordinary person. You can't afford to trust others so easily. All right, I understand. Xia Qingyue took on the disposition of a senior to lecture him yet again. Qianye grimaced as Huo Poyun's figure flashed past him, and he immediately let out an involuntary sigh. Trust is indeed something that is very extravagant because it can be broken too easily, and once it is broken, even if it was broken just once, it can never be fully mended again. Xia Qingyue. Because of my past experience, I find it extremely hard to truly trust someone. This is the one thing that you really don't need to worry about when it comes to me. But I have to make an exception for my wives, parents, and daughter, right? Qianye concentrated on Xia Qingyue's profile without looking away for a long time and gave a half-hearted smile. Daughter Xia Qingyue's brows twitched violently at that flippant word that came from Qianye's mouth. How old is your and Senior Master Yuechen's daughter? Xia Qingyue asked. 14 years old. In 1.5 years' time, she will be an adult, about the same age as when you married me back then. Qianye could not resist sighing. Time passes so quickly. What is her name? Xia Qingyue asked. Wuxin, Qianye replied. That name was given to her by her mother. Speaking of which, when I met her for the first time back then, I had no idea that she was my daughter and even made fun of her name. Xia Qingyue silently looked at him from the corner of her eye and observed Qianye's current expression. When his daughter was mentioned, his tone, facial expression, and the color between his eyebrows changed drastically. Even though Xia Qingyue was not facing him, she could feel a sense of incomparable gentleness, warmth, and pride coming from him. You should not have children, Xia Qingyue said in an incomparably soft voice. Each word was charged with extremely complicated emotions. Qianye's forehead creased deeply, surprised that Xia Qingyue would actually say something like that. Why? You value relationships too much, that is your weakness. Xia Qingyue slowly continued. Having a daughter softens your heart, scatters your determination, and will affect your decisions. It will take away your edge and increase your worries. You will have an extra big weakness. Qianye was slightly stunned, but he laughed after that and said, What you said is correct. I too sense that my temperament has indeed changed because of Wuxin. But to me, Wuxin is not only the most important family I have in this life, but she is also my source of strength. It's also because of Wuxin, and a matter that I don't want to recall, that I made a promise to her to become the #1 in this universe, so that she would not have to face any more dangers or be bullied anymore. This is also another motive for returning to the God realm, even though I was forced to return a little earlier than I wanted. Qianye looked into the distance and sighed. If I succeed in resolving the calamity of the devil gods, I will commit the rest of my time here in the God realm to cultivation. Senior Jia Yuan understands the strength of the heretic god very well, and if she is able to give me some pointers, it will be extremely beneficial for me to aid me in entering the next realm. Qianye smiled slightly. A promise from a father to his daughter can never be broken. It won't be in time, Xia Qingyue softly replied. The eternal heaven-divine realm can no longer be opened. No matter how great your innate skill is or how fast you are able to cultivate, it won't be in time. Won't be in time. Won't be in time for what? Everyone knows that you possess the strength of the heretic god. Only you possess the strength of a creation god, and they all know that if you continue to grow in strength, you will likely dominate all creation. If the heaven-smiting devil emperor were to continuously protect you, you would be able to grow stronger safely. But if you lose that protection, they will never ever allow a person who may dominate them in the future to grow stronger. Never ever. This is also why we must find you another talisman. Then even if the worst-case scenario happens, it is only with the protection of the eternal heaven realm, the moon god realm, and this protective talisman that you can remain safe. Qianye frowned again. He looked at Xia Qingyue's profile and suddenly asked, Qingyue, why do I feel that you seem very convinced that the heaven-smiting devil emperor will take away her protection over me? Why are you so worried about this? I don't know. Xia Qingyue closed her eyes. I've just been feeling uneasy recently, an unease like never before. If only I knew the reason for it, Xia Qingyue said in a voice so soft that only she could hear it. Qianye. Xia Qingyue turned her small head, her long hair dragging along, and said, You can think of it as me making much ado about nothing. I too wish that those extremely small possibilities will not happen, and I hope that you can safely grow to the heights that you have promised your daughter. I also hope that this protective talisman that I'm procuring for you is something that can't be easily thrown aside. Qianye lifted his hand to touch his lower jaw. He was still grumbling about the last time when Xia Qingyue left without saying a word. This time, on the contrary, Xia Qingyue talked about many things, but most of them were very strange. It seems that this worry was without reason. Qianye had always rather believed the warnings of the soul. But that was a natural defensive reaction of the body and soul right before danger arrived. And it was developed after experiencing many life and death situations. To any other person, Xia Qingyue's worries were without rhyme or reason, and they were exceedingly unlikely to come to pass. But looking at her, it seemed that she truly believed in this completely unfounded worry of hers. Although Xia Qingyue had very coldly said that she was only making use of Qianye to attain her goals, and that the protective talisman was something that was thrown in after she had finished making use of him, her later words exposed that this protective talisman was actually her true motive. Qianye was lost in thoughts. We hear. Following Xia Qingyue's soft words, an enormous star realm appeared in Qianye's vision, and it seemed to be swiftly getting close. At the same time, the surrounding aura and air abruptly changed simultaneously. The profound arc that was passing through was slightly rocked. It was as if it had been rubbed by thousands of pieces of sandpaper as it started giving off sharp, piercing sounds. Even Qianye, who was in the profound arc, could sense an extremely violent aura. Let's go! Without explaining, Xia Qingyue appeared by Qianye's side in a flash. After that, she grabbed his arm and brought him to the Brahma monarch god realm that was right in front of them. Brahma Heaven Temple. So it seems that the true disaster is yet to come? Qianye Ying'er's golden brows knitted as she said in a low voice, Close to 100 primordial devil gods. Anyone who heard this news would be shocked. Our last hope still lies in Qianye. Qianye lowered his voice. But it's clear that this hope is minuscule. After all, Qianye is only a mortal who inherited the strength of the heretic god. He will not be able to affect the heaven-smiting devil emperor's decisions to a large extent. So we have to make preparations for a large calamity. What we should plan now are ways to survive this large calamity. At this moment, the voice of the Brahma monarch, divine envoy, came from outside the temple. Reporting to the god emperor, Qianye has arrived. He had already instructed them to inform him the moment Qianye arrived. Both Qianye and Qianye Ying'er turned their heads at the same time. So quickly, Qianye muttered in a low voice before asking, Is he alone? No, the one he came with was confirmed to be the moon god emperor just now. Amen. Qianye frowned. This was clearly beyond his expectations. Xia Qingyue? Qianye Ying'er narrowed her eyes, a dangerous golden light twinkling in them. Qianye and Xia Qingyue truly are here for me. Qianye is easily irritable, but I did not know that Xia Qingyue was too. Did I think too highly of her? Qianye Ying'er let out a cold snort. HMPH, that's fine. I would like to see what they can do to me even with a heaven-smiting devil emperor to back them up. Ying'er, stay hidden for now. You are not to reveal yourself, Qianye said as his eyebrows pinched together. Qianye Ying'er's golden eyes slanted as she coldly asked, When did my royal father, who has always looked down on the world, become so timid and fearful? This is an order. Qianye voice suddenly went cold. Qianye Ying'er gave a small frown. This was the first time Qianye had spoken to her like this since she became a divine master. Since it is royal father's command, then how would Ying'er dare to disobey? She said indifferently. However, I will decide whether to reveal myself or not. After her voice fell, her figure had already silently vanished into thin air like drifting mist. Qianye pondered the issue with a sunken brow before sending out a sound transmission. Number 9, Go and personally welcome Qianye and the Moon God Emperor, and bring them directly into the temple. Remember, you must not be rude." Starlight permeated the star god realm, moonlight filled the skies in the moon god realm, and the eternal heaven god realm was wreathed by clouds and mist. When Qianye had first entered the three great king realms of the eastern divine region, he felt as if he had entered some sort of heavenly celestial realm. But the moment he entered the Brahma monarch god realm, the strongest king realm in the eastern region, he did not see any gaudy landscape, nor did he see the unique profound light that was representative of the other king realms. All of the buildings were simple and bland, their edges and angles clear and distinct. A cold metallic light gleamed off the surface of the buildings, and even the most ordinary house released an aggressive invasiveness. Furthermore, with every step and breath that Qianye took, he could sense an indescribably violent and frenzied feeling from the aura in this place. This was especially so for the elemental auras in this place. They were far more active and violent here than they had been in the other three king realms. As Qianye continued to walk, every person whom his spiritual perception had come into contact with, whether they were old, young, man, or woman, even children, everyone radiated an aura that made him secretly gasp in astonishment. Xuanian had told him long ago that there were no ordinary people in the Brahma monarch realm. But now that he saw it with his own two eyes, he could not help but feel shocked. "There are no ordinary people in Brahma monarch," Xia Qingyue, who was beside him, said. "You've definitely heard that phrase before. All of the profound practitioners in the Brahma monarch god realm view the profound way as their very lives. From the moment they are born, a burning desire to reach the very limits of the profound way has been instilled and nurtured in them. In this place, the weak are despised, and laziness is viewed as a disgrace. In such an environment, everyone will become a lunatic." "Qianye Ying'er is a lunatic," Qianye said with cold eyes. "You're right, she's a lunatic through and through. In order to reach an even higher level in the profound way, there is nothing that she would not do," Xia Qingyue replied. "This sort of conviction and ambition may seem completely deranged to you, but in the Brahma monarch god realm it could not be more than ordinary. The Qianye Fanchen back then surpassed even the current Qianye Ying'er." When she mentioned Qianye Ying'er, Xia Qingyue's expression did not change. But when she mentioned Qianye Fanchen, a purple light uncontrollably flashed in her eyes. After having inherited Yue Wuya's memories, her apprehension towards Qianye Fanchen was several times greater than it was towards Qianye Ying'er. The number one god emperor, the ones who were able to obtain such a title, which of them were not emperors amongst emperors and demons amongst demons? Qingyue, after the Brahma monarch god realm lost the three Brahma gods, are they still stronger than the eternal heaven god realm? Qianye asked. "Without a doubt, the one who is stronger is still the Brahma monarch god realm," Xia Qingyue said without even a moment of thought. "Just the strength that the Brahma monarch god realm openly displays is already incomparably frightening, to say nothing of the fact that no one has ever been able to see the entirety of the Brahma monarch god realm." Despite losing the three Brahma gods who were second only to the god emperors, the Brahma monarch god realm's strength was actually still above the eternal heaven god realms. It was truly frightening. At this moment, a dull golden figure appeared in their vision as it swiftly approached them. It was a short, middle-aged man with a cheery face and unremarkable features. He raised his hands in greeting and said, "Number 9 welcomes the visit of the moon god emperor and the god child Yun." His tone was gentle, lacking any sharpness, and his expression even looked a bit silly, but the faint light shooting from those long and narrow eyes that had been narrowed into slits told Qianye that this was definitely an extremely scary person. "Ah, so it's the 9th Brahma king. You look exactly like the rumors described you," Xia Qingyue said as she shot him a glance and gave a small nod of her head. The 9th Brahma king. This person was actually one of the Brahma kings of the Brahma monarch god realm. The look in Qianye's eyes changed slightly, as he firmly etched this person's features into memory. Being able to see the new moon god emperor and god child Yun, who saved all of creation from the returned devil emperor, is truly number 9's good fortune. The 9th Brahma king gave another bow. His behavior seemed to be charmingly naive as he said, "The god emperor is already waiting for the two of you in the temple, please." The two of them followed the 9th Brahma king into the Brahma heaven temple. Once they walked inside, they saw that Qianye Fanchen had already come out to greet them. He said with a face full of smiles, "God child Yun, moon god emperor, for either one of you to be able to come here is already an event that would brighten the entire realm. So for the both of you to come this day, this Qianye is well and truly honored. His greeting addressed God Child Yun first and Moon God Emperor second. Yun Chi's brows twitched at that. MNNN, for the husband to come before the wife, how very appropriate. There is no need for the Brahma Heaven God Emperor to waste his time on courtesies. Yun Chi spoke before Xia Qingyue could open her mouth. Since I promised that I would cleanse the devilish energy from your body, I won't go back on my words. Also, I am finally able to see what the #1 king realm in the eastern divine region looks like thanks to this, so it was a fruitful trip. This Qingyue did not inform you in advance, so I was presumptuous in coming. I hope that the Brahma Heaven God Emperor does not take offense to that, Xia Qingyue said with a small curtsy. He, what is the Moon God Emperor even saying? Please come in, Qianye Fanchen said with a chuckle as he stretched out a hand to welcome them. At the same time, his eyes slanted to the side as he continued. "9, you may take your leave. Inform everyone else that we are not to be disturbed." Yes, the 9th Brahma King did not ask a single question as he quickly left. After they entered the temple, Qianye Fanchen once again repeated a string of pleasant courtesies. It was clear that he was treating them as honored guests. He said to Yun Chi, "God Child Yun, it is rare for you to come to my Brahma Monarch God realm, so how about you let this king show you around the place for a bit? Even though the scenery cannot be compared to the Star God realm, the Moon God realm, or the Eternal Heaven realm, it has its own unique charms." "Please do not trouble yourself," Yun Chi also replied in a refined and courteous manner. "This junior has come to help the Brahma Heaven God Emperor cleanse away his devilish energy." "Oh, that's right. Is the lady goddess here?" he asked in a seemingly casual manner. "Ah, as luck would have it," Qianye Fanchen said in a regretful voice. "Ying'er is often abroad and she very rarely returns to the realm. Even now, I don't know her whereabouts. However, if God Child Yun is interested, this Qianye will tell her to return to the realm immediately." "Oh, there's no need. This junior was simply asking," Yun Chi said with a faint smile as he stood up. "Brahma Heaven God Emperor, your time is extremely precious. This junior does not dare disturb you anymore. So let me start cleansing away the devilish energy in your body." "All right, then I'll have to trouble the God Child Yun." Qianye Fanchen did not decline and stood up as well. "That's right, I still do not know why the Moon God Emperor has chosen to personally pay me a visit. Is there anything I can provide guidance on? I would not dare to ask you for your guidance." Compared to Yun Chi, Xia Qingyue's tone was harsh and cold. "But since Yun Chi's safety concerns the fate of our current universe, I naturally need to ensure that he is safe and sound." Qianye Fanchen smiled and said, "All living beings in this world owe a debt of gratitude to God Child Yun, so who would dare to offend God Child Yun now? Would that not be tantamount to provoking the wrath of all under heaven? There are many bold people in this world, especially in your Brahma Monarch God realm. So what does the Brahma Heaven God Emperor think?" Xia Qingyue asked indifferently. "Ha ha ha ha," Qianye Fanchen let out a loud laugh as he said, "This Qianye will calmly accept the praise of the Moon God Emperor. Since that is the case, I will trouble the Moon God Emperor to protect God Child Yun." After that, Yun Chi released light, profound energy and began to once again cleanse the Brahma Heaven God Emperor of the evil infant's devilish energy. He had not forgotten what Xia Qingyue had said, and the light, profound energy he released was several degrees weaker than what it had been last time. He even got distracted a few times during the process of the purification. Perhaps normal people would not be able to detect these tiny changes, but Qianye Fanchen definitely would. After many hours had passed, Yun Chi's brow was already full of sweat, and he was in a state of exhaustion. He ended the purification then and there as he opened his eyes and said to Qianye Fanchen, "This junior's cultivation is too shallow, so I definitely must have made a fool of myself in front of the Brahma Heaven God Emperor. This junior will come another day to purify senior again. After that, we must handle the matter of the Devil Emperor returning to this world. So I'm afraid that it will be hard to find an opportunity to completely cleanse the Brahma Heaven God Emperor of his devilish energy." No matter, no matter. Of course, important things must come first," Qianye Fanchen hurriedly said. "God Child Yun has bestowed his favor upon me time and again, so this Qianye is simply filled with gratitude. When I think of the offenses my daughter has committed against God Child Yun, I am filled with extreme terror and guilt." Yun Chi laughed and said, "Since it is grievance, then the sooner we resolve it, the better. If not, a grudge will only become harder and harder to solve. This junior hopes that when he visits you again, I would have the fortune to meet the lady goddess. Fine. Qianye Ying'er nodded his head without the slightest hint of hesitation. Godchild Yun is right. Since Godchild Yun has such a wish, then this Qianye will send a sound transmission ordering her to return to the realm before tomorrow ends, so that she can apologize to Godchild Yun for her actions back then. Amen. Then I will have to trouble the Brahma Heaven God Emperor, Yun-Chi said with a seemingly casual nod of his head. Godchild Yun is already exhausted, so why don't you rest and recuperate in my Brahma Monarch God realm for these 2 days? If you need anything, feel free to ask. You definitely must not stand on ceremony. There is no need, Xia Qingyue spoke up just as Yun-Chi was about to agree to the suggestion. For the next 2 days, this Qingyue will shuttle him back and forth from the Moon God realm, so we won't need to trouble the Brahma Heaven God Emperor to accommodate us. An anxious look appeared on Qianye Ying'er's face as he said, without the favor of Godchild Yun, this Qianye does not know how many times I would have to endure a torment that devoured both heart and soul over the past few days. The Dragon Queen is in seclusion, so there was no one for me to turn to. The favor of Godchild Yun is like a gift from heaven, and this Qianye still does not know how to repay him. At the very least, allow me to show my friendship. Since I said there is no need, there is no need. Xia Qingyue's voice was laced coldness as she said in a frank tone, the aura of the Brahma Monarch God realm is indeed worthy of its reputation. This king does not feel quite used to it. But if I were to leave Yun-Chi here alone, this king would not be able to feel at ease either, so it is best for us to return to the Moon God realm. Yun-Chi, let us leave. As Xia Qingyue said those words, she started to leave together with Yun-Chi. Since that is the case, then we will follow the will of the Moon God Emperor. It seemed as if Qianye Ying'er was not angry at all. He did not try to persuade them to stay any longer as he stood up to send them off. After sending Yun-Chi and Xia Qingyue off, the smile on Qianye Ying'er's gradually started to disappear, and a rare puzzled expression slowly replaced it. Qianye Ying'er appeared at his side, and she did not speak for a long time. When Yun-Chi helped me cleanse away that devilish energy, he clearly had other ideas, and cleansing away this devilish energy was merely a pretense. But it did not seem as if he had come because of you either. Even though Yun-Chi mentioned you twice, and his tone was serious, it seemed a little too deliberate. This coupled with the Moon God Emperor, just what exactly are they trying to do? Qianye Ying'er said as he pondered the question with knitted brows. At this time, Qianye Ying'er's eyebrows suddenly sank, and she uttered 7 words in an incomparably low and deep voice. The primordial seal of life and death. Qianye Ying'er instantly shot her a look. Xia Qingyue, she somehow found out about the primordial seal of life and death. Just a little over a month ago, she even came here to threaten me. Upon recalling the words Xia Qingyue had said on that day, an incomparably dangerous light flashed through her eyes. What? Qianye Ying'er's complexion drastically changed. How does she know about the primordial seal of life and death? Qianye Ying'er actually seemed to have lost control of his emotions as he roared in a low voice. Because that was his greatest secret, and it was the greatest secret of the Brahma Monarch God realm as well. It was only after he had let out that low roar that he suddenly grew vigilant. With a wave of his arm, he conjured up a huge soundproof barrier. The primordial seal of life and death was the 3rd-ranked heavenly treasure, second only to the ancestral sword and the evil infant's wheel. It belonged to the primordial creation goddess of life, Li Xiu. If it recognizes one as its master, that person would have a limitless lifespan. In other words, they would have eternal life. Even though it was not the strongest treasure, the 2 words, eternal life, were undoubtedly the goal of all creation, and that was true even if they were true gods or true devils. If all 7 great heavenly profound treasures were placed in front of a person, and he could choose any one of them, the seal of life and death would be chosen by most people instead of the ancestral sword or the evil infant wheel. It was recorded in ancient times that when the creation goddess of life, Li Xiu, died, the primordial seal of life and death fell into the hands of the devil race. Since then, there had been no news of it, and it had not reappeared in the present world either. But in actual fact, it had been obtained by the Brahma Monarch God realm 100,000 years ago. It was just that after it went through the first calamity of the evil infant, the primordial seal of life and death, which was most afraid of the power of darkness, was just like the sky poison pearl. Its spirit had died long ago, leaving behind a dead primordial seal of life and death. Yes, The primordial seal of life and death that was able to give eternal life to any living being was dead. Even though it sounded rather subtle, those were the facts. But given the temptation of those two words, eternal life, how could the Brahma monarch god realm simply give up because it was dead? Over the intervening years, all the Brahma heaven god emperors had spared no effort in searching for a method to revive the primordial seal of life and death. Ever since the Brahma heaven god emperor of 2 generations ago found the primordial seal of life and death, its existence had been the greatest secret of the Brahma monarch god realm. Its existence was only known by all the previous Brahma heaven god emperors and Brahma gods. Even the Brahma kings were not qualified to know about it. If news that the primordial seal of life and death was in the Brahma monarch god realm were spread to others, it would unquestionably gather the attention of countless pairs of greedy eyes. Even if it was the #1 king realm in the eastern region, even if they knew that the primordial seal of life and death was dead, and even if no one from the Brahma monarch god realm had ever attained eternal life, it certainly would not extinguish the insanity that the two words, eternal life, sparked in all living beings. Currently, the Brahma monarch god realm had just lost the 3 Brahma gods, and they were also being oppressed by Xianxia, who had the backing of a devil emperor. If this matter was leaked out, the Southern Sea god realm would most definitely start making trouble for them immediately. No, perhaps they would not even need to wait for the Southern Sea god realm. The heaven-smiting devil emperor herself might just show up herself. The device for eternal life was something that was enough to thoroughly excite the greed of even a devil emperor. And this is also why Qianye Ying'er would have such a reaction after hearing what Qianye Ying'er had said. Over the last few years, Xia Qingyue has been busy suppressing the civil unrest in the moon god realm, so she has never once left her realm. It is impossible for her to learn of this on her own, Qianye Ying'er said in a low voice. The only possibility is Yue Wuya. Qianye Ying'er's gaze turned dark and gloomy. I already realized quite some time back that he had long known that what had happened to Yue Wugu was my doing. He never showed it in public, but he secretly laid quite a few traps, Qianye Ying'er said. But you don't have to be too worried, royal father. Even if the moon god realm has picked up some clues, they are still only limited to guessing. If they dare to spread this matter, I have countless ways to make it seem as if the primordial seal of life and death is actually in the moon god realm instead. Also, the moon god realm doesn't have the qualifications to fall out with us publicly. Perhaps not in the past, but now times are different. Qianye Ying'er's brow furrowed even more. If Xianxia told the heaven-smiting devil emperor about this matter, then we won't be able to predict what happens next. No, he wouldn't dare. Qianye Ying'er gave a soft snort. If the heaven-smiting devil emperor attained the primordial seal of life and death in that manner, she would favor him even more. But if not, she would think that he had deceived her, and it would only result in her anger, the anger brought about from gaining nothing, being directed towards him. Does royal father think that Xianxia would risk that before he gained any confirmation? That is precisely why Xianxia and Xia Qingyue came here. They have most likely come to seek confirmation on this matter. Even Qianye Ying'er's eyes would show signs of anxiety when others touched upon his greatest secret. Cleansing the devilish energy is but a ruse. Coming to settle our differences is also a pretense. This time there was no mention of it, but the next time. He sucked in a deep breath and turned his body suddenly. Ying'er, inform the rest that I need to spend the next 2 days in quiet contemplation. No one is to disturb me. The same profound arc was traveling through the cosmos once more, but this time its destination was the moon god realm. Mission accomplished. Xianxia stretched his body. Qingyue, can you tell me what your purpose was now? I will tell you everything after we reach the moon god realm. Only you can accomplish this task, Xia Qingyue told him. Xianxia thought about it for a moment before he said, putting your goals aside, the trip we made today was probably just a ruse to distract the Brahma heaven god emperor, wasn't it? Yes. Pardon me for being candid. Xianxia glanced at Xia Qingyue. This ruse might perhaps deceive others, but it would not be able to deceive Qianye Ying'er. Otherwise, his title as #1 god emperor would have been for nothing. But then again, you should be well aware of this, right? My goal was precisely not to deceive him, Xia Qingyue said serenely. His mind and his thoughts should have been led to another place now. Another place? Xianxia asked puzzledly. What other place? I know another one of his secrets, and he should also be aware that I know of this secret. Our visit, this time, was initiated by you, and he originally had suspicions about it. So by suddenly coming together with you, he would definitely think in that direction, even without a word being said. Xia Qingyue stared at the moon as she said, "For sure." "Oh," Yun-Chi raised his brows, "why are you so certain?" "Because this is the secret that Qianye Ying'er is most afraid of being exposed. He will naturally be extremely sensitive about it. Once it is touched upon, he will be unable to take his mind off it. But he does not know that the true goal was to deceive him all along." If Yun-Chi made contact with Xia Qingyue's eyes at this moment, he would probably be afraid of her. Such a secret actually exists in the Brahma monarch god realm? Yun-Chi thought for a moment before asking, "Can I know what that secret that is?" "No, I knew it," Yun-Chi pouted. "Knowing of it now brings you no benefit," Xia Qingyue said. "If one day your strength is able to grow to the extent where the Brahma monarch god realm fears you, I will tell you everything without you even needing to ask. It is also entirely up to you to decide what to do when you know the secret." "All right," Yun-Chi stretched out his finger, "that's a promise." The moon god realm was located not far from the Brahma monarch god realm. After a short few hours, the moon god realm started to appear in their line of sight. The return of a god emperor was supposed to be a huge matter, but Xia Qingyue had already stored the profound arc in advance and intentionally concealed her aura. She hid from everyone else and directly brought Yun-Chi to Divine Moon City. Obviously, she had no intention of letting others know that Yun-Chi had arrived in the moon god realm. "It seems that you don't want others to know that I have arrived, and here I thought that you would welcome me into the moon god realm with great fanfare," Yun-Chi said with some slight bitterness. "You don't have a good reputation in the moon god realm," Xia Qingyue coolly replied. "If you don't want any trouble, stay here quietly and don't go anywhere." While speaking, she brought Yun-Chi past the barrier surrounding the god emperor's bedchambers. This was the sleeping quarters of Xia Qingyue, but it was also a special small world. A slow, gentle breeze welcomed them as they entered. The murmuring sound of water entered their ears, and gentle moonlight that came out of nowhere seemed to spill across the floor. It was as if he had suddenly entered a moonlit fairyland that was as beautiful as a painting. The gentle moonlight reflected the beautiful figures of three young maidens. They came over directly, their steps light and graceful. Though their robes were of different colors, they could violently move the hearts of others. Their skin was white as snow, delicate and translucent. Their figures were slender and graceful, with elegant curves in all the right places. Though they had different temperaments, their faces were as beautiful as a painting or a poem. "This servant girl welcomes Master and young Master Yun." All of three of them greeted Yun-Chi and Xia Qingyue with a bow, and they were not surprised at the arrival of Yun-Chi either. It was clear that Xia Qingyue had transmitted word of Yun-Chi's arrival beforehand. Among the three girls, Yun-Chi recognized the one in the middle who was wearing a yellow robe. He recalled that her name was Qingyue, but this was the first time he had seen the other two. They stood side by side, and they were so dazzling that even Yun-Chi felt dizzy while he looked at them. Even with Xia Qingyue beside them, they all looked stunning beyond compare, enough to send ripples through any man's heart while causing their minds to run wild with fanciful thoughts. "You may all leave," Xia Qingyue said. "During the next few days, no one is to come in without my instructions." "Yes." Qingyue, Yaoyue, Liongyue all complied obediently before softly leaving, and only their fragrance was left floating in the air. "The moon god realm is truly a great place," Yun-Chi said beamingly. "But it's a good thing that your personal servants are all ladies. If they were men, I would most definitely chase all of them out for you. As the moon god emperor, I am even allowed to have 1,000 male concubines, let alone male servants." Xia Qingyue's beautiful pupils shot him a leisurely and indifferent glance from the corner of her eye. "Male concubines?" Yun-Chi suddenly ground his teeth. "If you truly dare to take any, I will kill as many as you have taken." "Oh, really?" Xia Qingyue gave a smile that did not seem like a smile as she said, "Let's not talk about male concubines first. If you are able to chase off those 3 servant girls you saw just now, I will be yours to deal with. How's that? Oh, right, don't blame me for not telling you this later." Without waiting for Yun-Chi to reply, Xia Qingyue continued. "The 3 of them, Qingyue and Liongyue, are my personal divine moon envoys, and each of their cultivations is that of a 5th-level divine master. And Yaoyue, who looks like she's the weakest and easiest to bully, is my assistant moon god, and like me, she is one of the 12 moon gods of the moon god realm. Her strength among the moon gods is second only to me and the golden moon god." At number %, Yun-Chi was just about to speak when his words were smashed back down into his stomach by a hammer. So if you can't keep your hands to yourself and offend them in any way, and their hands were to slip, even 100 lives wouldn't be able to save you. Qianye heavily swallowed a mouthful of saliva. If one could become the servant girl of a god emperor, they naturally could not be ordinary people. Those three young maidens looked so delicate and gentle that they looked even less threatening than a rabbit. But they were far too extraordinary, weren't they? You don't have enough strength, so don't flippantly speak such nonsense. Do you really think that you have the capability to stop me if I wanted to take a male concubine? Even if I can't stop it, I still have to try, Qianye said in a fit of pique, but his expression turned serious afterwards. But I believe that you definitely won't do that. Xia Qingyue gave a small smirk. Do you think that everyone is as lecherous as you? Qianye was momentarily at a loss for words. Xia Qingyue did not mock him any further. She slowly took a few steps forward, and as she stood in the moonlight, a light breeze blew by her, causing her black hair and purple robes to flutter in the wind. This unintentionally outlined her wonderfully shocking curves and caused Qianye to stop and stare. Xia Qingyue brought her pale hands behind her back, as though she had sensed his suddenly still gaze. Her broad and lustrously purple muslin sleeves naturally fell past her rounded and provocative buttocks, blocking Qianye's vision. I will now tell you what you have to do next. The first time that you helped Qianye Fanchen cleanse the devilish energy, you had a few impulses to poison him, and you also said that he would not find out. I did not understand what you meant back then, but I understood later on when I found out that you possessed the sky poison pearl. So then, Xia Qingyue slightly narrowed her eyes as a misty and chilling look appeared in them. I want you to go ahead with your original plan the next time you help him cleanse the devilish energy from his body, and take the opportunity to release the poison of the sky poison pearl when your profound energy enters his body. Qianye's brows furrowed, and he said, with the current aura of the primal chaos, the potency of the sky poison pearl is recovering at an extremely slow speed. Judging from its current recovery speed, he would not die even if I were to release all of its poison. When my profound energy entered his body the last time, it was but a wild thought that naturally came about when such an opportune moment presented itself. It can't even be counted as a rash move. Not only that, even if I truly could poison him to death at that moment, it would only be an impulse and I would not really act on it. Xia Qingyue slowly replied, I don't want you to poison him to death, and you also won't be able to poison him to death either. What I want is for Qianye Fanchen to be in desperate straits, not for him to meet a dead end. For one to be in desperate straits would bring about hope and struggle in the other party, but if one were to meet a dead end, it would only provoke a desperate counterattack and result in an unrelenting fight to the death. The latter was definitely something that both Qianye and the Moon God Realm would not be able to handle. You knew that the poison wouldn't be enough to kill him, but it was enough to damage him severely. That's why you were still tempted to poison him that day, am I right? Something strongly tugged at Qianye's heartstrings. Qianye Fanchen was an incredibly dangerous person. It was why Xia Qingyue had accompanied him when the God Emperor had sent him an invitation at the Eternal Heaven Realm. After that, she left him before he got to say too much, and he hadn't put any real thought behind most of his words. If Xia Qingyue hadn't brought it up now, he wouldn't even remember what he had spoken back then. But somehow, Xia Qingyue was able to deduce the fact that he possessed darkness profound energy, the sky poison pearl's current strength, and perhaps even more she didn't say from those careless words alone. Was she really Xia Qingyue? It was almost as if her soul had been switched with someone else. Qianye couldn't help but be shocked, but what really annoyed him was how focused Xia Qingyue was in front of him. Noticing that the man behind her had fallen silent and was even looking at her in a slightly different light, Xia Qingyue turned slightly towards him and asked, Was I wrong? No, you're correct, Qianye finally said. The sky poison pearl hasn't recovered much power, but its poison is an incredibly high-level existence. Qianye Fanchen may be able to brute force it out of his body, but he'll never be able to truly neutralize it. Even if it wasn't enough to kill him, its power should last long enough to give him the time of his life. Xia Qingyue turned around and extended a hand toward Qianye. She wasn't wearing any adornment, and every finger looked like they were from the first snow. Let me try it. Okay. Qianye didn't hesitate. The sky poison pearl possessed both the ultimate poison and the ultimate purification ability, so he wasn't worried that Xia Qingyue would get hurt during the attempt. He extended his right hand and touched Xia Qingyue's palm with a finger. His own palm flashed blue for an instant before a wisp of sky poison was poured into Xia Qingyue's hand. The sky poison came active immediately after coming into contact with Xia Qingyue. It was only a wisp, but it immediately caused her entire hand to glow dark green. A frown sprung to Xia Qingyue's face as she quickly circulated her purple pylon profound energy. A purple light instantly surrounded her hand and suppressed the greenish glow. However, suppression was all she could manage. Despite her cultivation and the purple pylon divine power, she actually wasn't able to extinguish or neutralize the sky poison at all. It was completely locked down inside the veins of her palm, but like a solid block of ice, it refused to fade no matter what she tried. And this was just a wisp. "It is impossible to neutralize," whispered Xia Qingyue. "The poison of the sky poison pearl is alive," said Qianye. This living poison had only started accumulating after He Ling had become the poison spirit. Before this, the poison of the sky poison pearl was still fatal, but could easily be neutralized by any profound practitioner. Not even a true god may necessarily be able to neutralize it if it enters their body, much less the living things of the current world. While speaking, Qianye stretched out his left hand and used the purification ability of the sky poison pearl. A flash later, the poison aura in Xia Qingyue's hand had disappeared completely. Qianye was the only one in the entire world who could unleash or purify the poison of the sky poison pearl. Unfortunately, the sky poison pearl's power was also accumulating much too slowly. If he had a couple more years, if he had been able to wait like he told He Ling before, the sky poison pearl would have accumulated enough power to kill even an expert like Qianye Ying'er. Unfortunately, the heavens had other plans, and he was forced to return to the god realm earlier than expected due to the Crimson Calamity. Right now, the sky poison pearl simply did not have enough sky poison to kill Qianye Ying'er. "How long is its lifespan?" asked Xia Qingyue after withdrawing her profound energy. 40 hours or so, give or take," Qianye said. "Qianye Ying'er may not be able to neutralize it, but he'll definitely be able to last beyond the 40-hour mark considering his profound energy and divine body. Right now, there just isn't enough sky poison to induce the desperate straits or crisis of death you wanted." 40 hours, Xia Qingyue pondered for a moment. "It's shorter than I predicted, but it should still be enough." Qianye: "The sky poison won't be enough to kill him, but the fact that it cannot be neutralized by the power of a god emperor and the fame of the sky poison pearl should still be enough to give Qianye Ying'er quite the scare. No one knows that the sky poison can only exist for 40 hours, except you and I. As his defense and power grow weaker and weaker, so will he begin to fear for his own life. Once that happens, his fear and the possibility that he might die would only torment him more and more with the passage of time." Qianye shot her a glance before saying, "I won't ask why we even want to poison Qianye Ying'er for now, but even if 40 hours of terror may not be enough to destroy Qianye Ying'er's willpower, I know. The chances of success should be lower than 30%. Xia Qingyue interrupted Qianye before he could finish his sentence. She clearly knew what he was trying to say. However, don't forget that his body was already implanted with something that will magnify his fear 1,000 times over, the evil infant devilish energy. But Qianye frowned slightly in puzzlement. "You want me to whip the devilish energy inside him into a frenzy after I poison him? That can't be right. Not only will it be a meaningless move, it will expose the fact that I can control darkness profound energy. What happens when the sky poison of the sky poison pearl and the power of the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations are combined?" The creases in Qianye's brow deepened. "They will become the myriad tribulations." "Correct." Xia Qingyue's eyes looked as deep as a bottomless, cold lake right now. "There is no one in the entire god realm who hasn't heard of myriad tribulations. After all, it was this poison that ended the era of gods and altered the entire primal chaos drastically. This is a name that would terrify even true gods and true devils, much less a mere mortal." Wait, Qianye said with an odd look on his face. "You're not asking me to combine the sky poison and the evil infant devilish energy in Qianye Ying'er's body together, are you?" "Can you do it?" asked Xia Qingyue. "Of course I can't. I don't think you can either. What I want isn't for you to combine them." Xia Qingyue stared at Qianye as her words grew slower and heavier. "Is it possible to just mix them together?" The fact that the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations and the sky poison pearl were the devil race's heavenly profound treasures a long time ago proved that both the essence of their power were on the negative side. Therefore, Xia Qingyue had reason to believe that their energies wouldn't reject one another. Qianye thought for a moment before answering, I wouldn't be able to give you an answer if I had never come into contact with the evil infant's devilish energy in the past. But having treated it multiple times already, I can tell you that this devilish energy is unusually compatible with me despite being deadly enough to torture a god emperor. Even when I was purifying it with the light, profound energy, it didn't struggle nearly as much as I thought it should. Maybe it's because my darkness, profound energy is special. Or maybe, Xianxia exhaled slightly before continuing, it's because it's her power, and so her aura is imbued in them. Xia Qingyue, that's why I'm confident that I can slip the sky poison power into the evil infant's devilish energy perfectly. He had performed a purification once for the eternal Heaven God Emperor, and twice for the Brahma Heaven God Emperor. 3 contacts were enough for him to confirm this. Excellent! Xia Qingyue nodded as her gaze grew a tad darker. After testing the sky poison personally and hearing Yun Qi's confirmation, the chance of success she kept in her mind had climbed a little higher. In that case, please slip all the sky poison into the evil infant's devilish energy. When you treat him the day after tomorrow, make sure it erupts after we have left the Brahma monarch god realm, and he will be thrown into the nightmare that is myriad tribulations. Isn't it a bit naive to think that Qianye Ying'er will believe that he was poisoned with myriad tribulations just by mixing the sky poison and the evil infant devilish energy together? Yun Qi raised his chin a bit as he spoke. Forget that he's the Brahma Heaven God Emperor. Anyone who isn't an idiot would be able to figure this out easily, wouldn't they? You are right, of course. But Xia Qingyue nodded in agreement. He won't believe it, and he doesn't need to. After all, the poison that destroyed the gods and devils and ended an entire era will still be the first thing that enters his mind when the poison activates. The shadow left behind by myriad tribulations is so big that anyone who encounters any blend of the sky poison and the evil infant will automatically recall that name like they were cursed by a devil. No one, not even you, the master of the sky poison pearl, knows how to combine the evil infant's power and the sky poison power together to create myriad tribulations. No one in this era has even come into contact with it either. But it is without a doubt the most terrifying and famous name in the world. So when a blend between the evil infant's devilish and the sky poison appears, no one except you, the master of the sky poison pearl, dare say with absolute certainty that a mutation like the myriad tribulations wouldn't happen again. An unknown fear that exceeds the recognition of a god emperor, the shadow of myriad tribulations, and the sky poison that not even a god emperor can neutralize one bit. All these factors should be enough to push Qianye Ying'er into collapse in 40 hours' time. And just in case something unexpected happens, I'll give Qianye Ying'er enough hints when we're there so that he'll definitely make the connection. Yun Qi stared blankly at Xia Qingyue as his scalp suddenly crawled with something unspeakable. Xia Qingyue didn't seem to notice the change in his gaze, however. She continued, Qianye Ying'er is a naturally suspicious person. Our visit already made him highly suspicious, but since not even you had any idea of our real objective, there's no way he could have deduced anything from your words or body language. He will believe that the purification is just an excuse, and he will set his full attention on that other thing he cares about the most. He'll forcefully change the subject with me while you are purifying the devilish energy inside his body. I will also use my own ways to pull his attention away from you. You'll have enough time to do whatever you want. After that, just leave it to me to handle the rest. Yun Qi put a hand to his forehead and ran through everything Xia Qingyue said in his head once. Then he shook his head slightly and forced himself to calm down, asking, Your goal is to make Qianye Ying'er face the fear of the death and make him beg for mercy before me. Amen? Xia Qingyue nodded. A person's desire to live is proportional to the extent of their life, power, and status. Therefore, one might say that Qianye Ying'er is the person who fears death the most out of everyone in the Eastern Divine region. So the protective talisman you were speaking of was Qianye Ying'er. When he comes begging for me to purify his sky poison, we will demand a special request or some sort of information that's fatal for him. Is that it? You are half right. Xia Qingyue paused for a second as her breathing suddenly grew heavier. For now, Qianye Ying'er doesn't deserve that much attention from me. No, my goal is Qianye Ying'er. Qianye Ying'er must know this herself. That is why Qianye Ying'er is the one who will show up when the time is right, not Qianye Ying'er. Naturally, she is also the one who will accept our condition. Xia Qingyue's ability to control her own emotions was already unbelievable, but Yun Qi still could feel a drop in the temperature when Qianye Ying'er was brought up. Staring into Xia Qingyue's pupils, Qianye ran through the idea and shook his head. I don't think you'll succeed. The Qianye Ying'er I saw was an extremely selfish madwoman who'll do anything to achieve her own goals. Qianye Fanchen may be the father who gave birth to her, but I don't think that she'll sacrifice herself for him even if he begs her to save his life. Xia Qingyue closed her eyes slightly before replying, 2 years ago, I would have thought the same as you did. However, during my time as the Moon God Emperor, I've invested most of my energy into figuring out Qianye Ying'er. It was clear that Xia Qingyue's hatred of Qianye Ying'er was so deep that it could never be resolved. It was during this period that I came to learn a weakness in her personality. A personality weakness. Did she seriously mean that someone as unrelentingly ruthless and sinister as Qianye Ying'er had a personality weakness? You mean to say that Qianye Fanchen is very important to Qianye Ying'er? Asked Qianye. While it was perfectly normal for a father to have a special and irreplaceable place in their daughter's heart, this was Qianye Ying'er they were talking about. Qianye could hardly believe his own words when he uttered them. Correction. He is extremely important to Qianye Ying'er, replied Xia Qingyue. Qianye, you should have heard that Qianye Ying'er is the child of Qianye Fanchen's first wife, also the god empress of the Brahma monarch god realm. However, the truth is Qianye Ying'er is just the child of a normal concubine. The god empress child is really the Brahma monarch crown prince. Qianye, Brahma monarch crown prince. Why do I feel like I've never heard of this title? From a very young age, Qianye Ying'er had already displayed a shocking amount of talent and an even greater thirst for the profound way. Her ambition came from 2 things: the environment she was raised in and her mother. Qianye Fanchen has 2,000 concubines, and the laws of survival employed by the Brahma monarch god realm are merciless and cruel. You can imagine just how hard it is for a normal concubine to live in that environment. The young Qianye Ying'er and her mother were dependent on one another, and she cultivated, fought for resources and opportunities, and grew increasingly cunning and ruthless to improve her mother's status and authority. Since her talent for the profound way was already astounding in the first place, her growth speed naturally alarmed the Brahma monarch god realm and Qianye Fanchen. At the time, Qianye Ying'er wasn't as selfish and unscrupulous as she is now. In fact, more than half the time, she acted the way she did only because it would benefit her mother. Qianye Fanchen started paying more and more attention to Qianye Ying'er, and her mother naturally rose because of it. But Qianye Ying'er didn't grow stagnant just because she had won his full attention. On the contrary, she continued to exploit the increasing amount of resources and opportunities she was given to the full, and grew even faster than before. Sometime later, Qianye Fanchen even sent out a secret order to the entire Brahma monarch god realm to warn everyone that they were not to discuss or leak Qianye Ying'er's presence to the world. Xia Qingyue shifted her gaze slightly and asked, "Do you know what this secret order means?" "It's both a form of protection and a special form of expectation," replied Qianye. "That's right. Everyone noticed that something was up once the order was sent out, and obviously the ones who were most unsettled by it were the Brahma monarch crown prince and the Brahma monarch god empress. At the time, there were already rumors saying that the Brahma heaven god emperor was planning to raise Qianye Ying'er with all he had, and that she was the obvious choice to succeed his throne. What this means is that the Brahma monarch crown prince and the Brahma monarch god empress may be abolished in the near future, since Qianye Ying'er's mother is probably going to be made the empress. Then, just 4 days after the secret order was sent out, Qianye Ying'er's mother was killed. Qianye Ying'er herself had suffered an ambush, but she was a late-stage divine sovereign, and she was paranoid enough to carry the protective profound artifact Qianye Fanchen had personally gifted her, so she managed to escape unharmed. But she had failed to protect her own mother. Or should I say she had been too young to realize just how low a person could stoop, and how cruel the laws of survival really were. "To think that they would be attacked in the Brahma monarch god realm," said Qianye while shaking his head. "They really are all crazy. Although no sure proof or evidence could be found, everyone knows that the only people who might attempt to assassinate Qianye Ying'er and her mother despite the tremendous risks were the god empress and the crown prince. It was said that Qianye Ying'er was so miserable she almost committed suicide, as a victim of Qianye Ying'er's ruthlessness and frightful methods. I'm sure you must find it unimaginable that she would almost fall apart for another person. But that was a different Qianye Ying'er from the past. In fact, it was that incident which made her into the monster she is today. On the same day, Qianye Ying'er did something unimaginable as his fury spread through the entire Brahma monarch god realm. He personally sentenced the god empress and crown prince to death. What? Qianye was shocked. He had put his god empress and his own son to death, on the same day, his crown prince no less. That wasn't all. He also declared their names to be removed from the Brahma monarch god realm's ancestral records forever, and forbade anyone from mentioning their names ever again. After that, he conferred Qianye Ying'er's mother the title of God Empress. To think that something like this happened in the past, muttered Qianye. Do you understand now? Asked Xia Qingyue. Qianye nodded slightly and said, her mother was the most important person in her life. Most of her effort was for the sake of her mother. When her mother was killed, her father used the cruelest and bloodiest method to take revenge for her and gave her mother the highest glory and consolation. That is part of, if not all of, why Qianye Ying'er's love and dependency for her mother have been carried over to Qianye Ying'er, not to mention an unforgettable sense of gratitude as well. In short, Xia Qingyue turned away as if she didn't want Qianye to see the iciness sparkling behind her pupils. Qianye Ying'er is now the only representation of affection and love she had left in her humanity. Moreover, that piece of her soul is the one thing that she couldn't lose no matter what, precisely because she had grown indifferent towards everything else. And that is the only weakness of Qianye Ying'er, Qianye. On the one hand, her weakness is the strongest god emperor in the entire eastern divine region. No one would even think to exploit this even if everyone in the world knew about it. On the other hand, a weakness is a weakness. Someone as strong as Qianye Ying'er could be a weakness. Qianye doubted that anyone except Xia Qingyue would even consider something this preposterous. They would only think of it as no more than a joke, but Xia Qingyue was serious. The secret of the Brahma monarch god realm, the weakness in Qianye Ying'er's personality, the temperament of Qianye Ying'er, the evil infant devilish energy, the fact that he could control the darkness profound energy, and finally the sky poison's power. How in the world did she manage to put all of this together? Qingyue, Qianye asked suddenly, can you answer a question? Xia Qingyue, do I count as your weakness? He stared straight into her eyes. You were, she answered without any hesitation or emotion. Back then, I could have betrayed my foster father and moon god realm for you. I could have given up everything I had to beg Senior Shenzai as well. What about now? Xia Qingyue turned around and faced him directly, her beautiful and serene eyes staring straight into his. Right now, I have no weakness, Qianye, but you, on the other hand, are riddled with them. Qianye couldn't say anything for a long time. Xia Qingyue turned around and walked away slowly. Take this time to cool your head and consider your next step carefully. Although I'm using you to take revenge against Qianye Ying'er, you will benefit greatly if our attempt succeeds. I am the Moon God Emperor. I wouldn't borrow your time and effort without compensating you fairly. Oh, right. She suddenly paused for a second and asked a strange question. How many people have you killed in your whole life? A couple million, give or take, replied Qianye. What about the past 3 years? Asked Xia Qingyue again. Qianye thought for a moment before answering. 4. I thought that the blood stench on you was surprisingly thin. Xia Qingyue closed her eyes slightly before asking, why? There is no special reason. I just didn't feel like bloodying my hands too much during these past few years. Qianye smiled faintly before continuing. I'm sure you must find this hilarious, but you'll probably understand what I mean after you have your own children. In fact, the amount of people I saved during the Crimson Calamity far exceeds the amount of people I've killed in the past. Maybe that's why my mindset is tending more and more towards harmony as of late, especially when I was around my daughter. Xia Qingyue shifted her feet and went away without a word. After leaving her bedroom, Xia Qingyue let out a quiet sigh before calling out, Lion Yue. A girl dressed in blue-colored moon robes appeared in front of her and knelt. Please head to the Eternal Heaven God Realm yourself and invite the Eternal Heaven God Emperor over to the Moon God Realm in 3 days. Remember to tell him that Qianye is here, that way he won't turn you down. Understood. Lion Yue vanished into moonlight after the reply. I hope this will work, Xia Qingyue muttered to herself. He wouldn't suffer any consequences even if it doesn't work in the end, but she looked up and stared at the white moon. It hung majestically and proudly in the sky, but no one knew where it came from and where it would end up in the end. Southern Divine Region, at a dangerous place no one dared to approach. This place was called the Forgotten Lands of the Heretic God. According to the records, the ancient heretic god lived here in seclusion after abandoning his original title. This was also where Jasmine had obtained the heretic god's indestructible blood. However, this place was a complete wasteland right now. No special aura could be detected here, but there were groups of terrifying, profound beasts everywhere. Jia Yan was floating quietly in the sky. She had been floated there for a whole day and night without moving an inch. All she did was watch. She was hoping to find something with her mind, but there was only desolation and emptiness in this place. There wasn't even a trace or mark of his existence. This land had been scoured 1,000,000 times over after the people had learned that this was the forgotten lands of the heretic god, and that the heavenly slaughter star god had found his inheritance here. Naturally, nothing was left behind in this place. Finally, she withdrew her gaze and spiritual perception, but instead of returning to Ying'er, she chose a random direction and took off. She was trying to find a trace of him in the nearby star realms. She passed through a wasteland, a forest, and countless rivers before a human city abruptly entered her eyes. However, this city was currently under siege by a sudden calamity. Why would the profound beasts of silent forest suddenly, Yue? Could it be the same profound beast riots as the ones in the eastern divine region? Run, run. The sudden attack had caused the defenseless humans to succumb to panic. Their resistance seemed entirely useless before the waves of profound beasts. Terror, blood-curdling screams, and despair spread throughout the entire city like wildfire. Run, Zinner, run! A pair of parents were running away with their 10-year-old daughter while repelling the profound beasts that wouldn't stop attacking them. They were slowly but surely running out of strength. Boom! The parents managed to block the profound beasts' attacks, but some of the shockwaves still managed to get through their defense. As a result, their daughter was swept into the air and fell toward a giant profound beast in the distance. The parents' despairing roars and the girl's screams resounded through the air. Suddenly, a black flash appeared between the girl and the profound beast. The profound beast behind her instantly dissolved into a puff of black dust, and the power acting on the girl was perfectly dispelled. The girl herself was perfectly unharmed besides her shock. Jia Yuan tossed the girl back to her parents and was about to leave. The parents didn't express any gratitude towards Jia Yuan after catching their daughter, however. There was only infinite shock and fear as they retreated while shivering. Devil, a devil person, it's a devil, Jia Yuan. Daddy, she's the one who saved me. She's the one who saved me. The girl's shock hadn't completely faded yet, but her voice was incredibly clear. No, she's a devil person. The girl retreated while putting her daughter behind her, her eyes flashing with fear and hatred. She is the scariest, dirtiest, and most sinful devil person Mother told you about many times before. Quickly, get to the mayor and tell him that a devil person has shown up besides the profound beasts. These rioting profound beasts could possibly be? No, they're definitely related to these devil people. Quickly, tell the mayor and the great realm king right now, we cannot allow these devil people to leave alive. Jia Yuan closed her eyes and vanished from view. All that was left was a disaster that seemed like it would never end. Monarch God realm at the agreed-upon time. This time, Qianye Ying'er appeared to be even more courteous and polite than before. He even came out personally to welcome and escort them all the way to the Brahma Heaven Temple. It was clear that his cautiousness stemmed from the fact that his greatest secret had been discovered. Qianye should have sent an ark to escort you both from the Moon God realm. Qianye is both grateful and anxious that the Moon God Emperor is willing to make the journey herself, Qianye Ying'er said sincerely. You are too courteous, Brahma Heaven God Emperor, Xia Qingyue said. Yunqi is the key to saving the world right now. It is this king's duty to ensure his safety while he is a guest in the Moon God realm. Despite the contrasting expressions on the two God Emperors' faces, one of them was smiling cordially, while the other the image of indifference and aloofness. Neither of them were concerned with appearances. It was probably an unusual scene. Yunqi, it's time you seek out the heaven-smiting devil emperor, and any further delay would be unwise. You should begin immediately. Xia Qingyue said immediately, and directly the moment they had entered the Brahma Heaven Temple. All right, Yunqi nodded in response before extending a hand to Qianye Ying'er. If I may, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. Just like the previous two treatments, Yunqi sat directly opposite of the Brahma Heaven God Emperor and released his light, profound energy. The evil infant devilish energy inside the Brahma Heaven God Emperor's body became slowly purified as a result. Xia Qingyue also sat next to Yunqi just like before. She locked her aura firmly around Yunqi, clearly displaying distrust in the Brahma Monarch God realm, even though Qianye Ying'er was right in front of her. The temple grew silent as time passed silently and slowly. Yunqi focused his attention on circulating the light profound energy. Qianye Fanchen quietly accepted the purification, and Xia Qingyue sat protectively by his side. None of them moved or said a word throughout the process. An hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. When 6 hours had passed by without incident, Xia Qingyue suddenly opened her eyes and slowly rose to her feet. Her aura was still focused on Yunqi, but she had left his side to walk slowly across the wide foundation of the Brahma Heaven Temple. Her footsteps were soft, and her clothes made not a rustle. After pacing for a little while in the Brahma Heaven Temple, she stopped in front of a simple and old portrait and stared. The person inside the portrait was an old man dressed in the Brahma gold divine robes. The robes represented the highest status attainable in the Brahma monarch god realm, accentuating the old man's natural imposingness even further. She stared quietly at the portrait and didn't look away for a very long time. "He, you seem very interested in this king's ancestor, Moon God Emperor." Qianye Fanchen's amiable voice suddenly broke the silence of the temple. Xia Qingyue's gaze shifted slightly before she said, "I see. No wonder his portrait feels very imposing. Which generation does this god emperor belong to?" "He is the god emperor from 3 generations ago," Qianye Fanchen said while chuckling. "You may remember him if you search through the core memories of the previous moon god emperors." Xia Qingyue pondered for a moment before saying in a meaningful tone, "This god emperor seems to have done a great service to the Brahma monarch god realm. He was a respectable man." She said this because this Brahma heaven god emperor should be the one who found the primordial seal of life and death based on her time calculations. "As a junior, I wouldn't dare comment on the achievements of my forefathers. What exactly do you mean, though, moon god emperor?" Qianye Fanchen was still smiling. "You think too much, Brahma heaven god emperor." Xia Qingyue finally moved her gaze away from the portrait and said, "It was a thoughtless question. This king was simply drawn by the vigor of this portrait." "Brahma heaven god emperor," Yunqi suddenly spoke up, "please don't lose your concentration or the devilish energy may go out of control." "Oh, excuse me. This is Qianye's mistake," Qianye Fanchen immediately replied. Xia Qingyue moved away from the portrait and paced down another direction in the temple. Qianye Fanchen also fell silent and closed his eyes as if his mind had become concentrated once more. Qianye Fanchen looked like he was more focused on his treatment than ever before. But it was at this moment that Yunqi said in his mind, "Let's begin, He Ling." Wisps of sky poison immediately coursed through his profound energy and slipped into Qianye Fanchen's body, entering the well of evil infant devilish energy inside Qianye Fanchen directly. Since they were both negative energies, the evil infant devilish energy didn't reject the sky poison's entry at all. Although Yunqi was quite confident that he would succeed, and Qianye Fanchen's attention was firmly drawn away by Xia Qingyue, he still worked carefully and without haste to minimize the chances of detection. He never transferred more than a couple of threads into Qianye Fanchen each time, and the entire process was slow and steady. It was as if time had come to a complete stop. The hour felt agonizingly long, but Yunqi was finally able to pour every bit of the sky poison He Ling had cultivated into Qianye Fanchen's body and conceal it behind the evil infant devilish energy. He didn't leave behind a single drop. His work complete, Yunqi opened his eyes and dropped his hand a little lethargically from Qianye Fanchen's solar plexus. He then let out a long breath and wiped away the sweat on his forehead. "Thank you for your trouble, godchild Yun," said Qianye Fanchen gratefully after opening his eyes. "There is no need for such courtesy, Brahma Heaven God Emperor," Yunqi said, as if he was jesting while smiling. "This junior was able to earn a great favor from the Brahma Heaven God Emperor without expending too much energy, so it seems like this junior is the one who has benefited more from this exchange." Qianye Fanchen laughed loudly in response. "Don't worry, godchild Yun. Qianye won't forget about this for as long as he lives. If you have any needs, godchild Yun, Qianye shall do his utmost." Xia Qingyue returned to Yunqi's side and examined him from head to toe. She then said, "We'll stop today since you've run out of energy. Brahma Heaven God Emperor, Yunqi must focus on persuading the heaven-smiting Devil Emperor next, and this is the most important thing in the entire God realm. Therefore, he won't be able to purify the devilish energy inside you for a very long time to come. If it becomes active again, you must find another way yourself." That isn't a problem," Qianye Fanchen said while chuckling. "Nearly 40% of the devilish energy has been purified." Qianye should be able to endure another attack without a problem and purify the rest on his own. Qianye wouldn't dare trouble God-Child Yun any longer. Purify on your own? Qianye Fanshan's statement caused Xia Qingyue to look at him and say, "Your profound strength may reach the heavens, Brahma Heaven God Emperor, but the evil infant devilish energy is an incredibly high-level existence. It would take a couple, if not 10 years before you can purify it all. This king doesn't doubt that you can endure the pain of the devilish energy, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. However, you seem to have missed another deadly threat." "Oh," Qianye Fanshan's eyes flashed once as he asked, "Please enlighten me, Moon God Emperor. If this king's guess is correct, the Southern Sea God Emperor must have visited you personally some time ago. Is that right?" asked Xia Qingyue. "He, that is true. The Moon God Emperor truly is remarkably intelligent." Qianye Fanshan nodded, but a tiny wrinkle appeared on his brow. "You praise me too much, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. Anyone who knows the Southern Sea God Emperor even a little could figure this out." Xia Qingyue narrowed her eyes slightly before continuing. "The relationship between your realm and his has always been rather tentative, but the Brahma Monarch God realm has just recently lost 3 Brahma gods. He wouldn't be the Southern Sea God Emperor if he doesn't use this opportunity to throw stones while you're down, especially considering his obsessive infatuation with the Lady Goddess. Worry not, Moon God Emperor." Qianye Fanshan continued to smile without looking perturbed. "The Brahma Monarch God realm doesn't fear the Southern Sea God Emperor even after the loss of 3 Brahma gods. But what if they lose you as well?" Xia Qingyue said coldly. The smile on the Brahma Heaven God Emperor's face immediately faded. "What do you mean, Moon God Emperor? I'm sure you know better than anyone what kind of person the Southern Sea God Emperor is, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. One might even say that there was no one in the world who can stoop as low as him. To him, the death of the 3 Brahma gods is the opportunity of a lifetime, and he may actually try to poison you if you refuse to give in to his wishes. With you and the 3 Brahma gods gone, it would be all too simple for him to acquire the Lady Goddess for himself, don't you think?" "HMPH? Ridiculous!" Qianye Fanshan finally showed a bit of anger. "You think that the likes of him can poison me? Strength-wise, the Brahma Heaven God Emperor fears no one, of course. However, the Southern Sea God realm possesses a kind of poison called the Absolute God-slaying poison. It is a devilish poison of the old days, and it is currently the deadliest poison in the entire world. Back then, it even nearly killed the heavenly slaughter star god. You simply must be careful, Brahma Heaven God Emperor," Xia Qingyue warned indifferently. Qianye Fanshan narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at Xia Qingyue. "Moon God Emperor, do you really believe that I'd be afraid of Southern Sea's devilish poison?" Xia Qingyue stared right back without any fear as she replied softly. "Of course you would have nothing to fear from such poison, in the past that is. But you are tainted by the evil infant devilish energy right now. Are you seriously telling me that you aren't afraid at all?" "What do you mean?" Qianye Fanshan asked with a frown. He didn't understand what Xia Qingyue was saying. Millions of years ago, the poison that had ended the gods and the devils, myriad tribulations, was a fusion between the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations, devilish energy, and poison from the sky poison pearl. However, the essence of myriad tribulations was that of poison, not devilish energy. What this means is that any deadly poison that comes into contact with the evil infant devilish energy may experience an unexpected, terrible mutation. Qianye Fanshan's expression looked the same as ever, but his gaze had frozen for just a second when he heard this. If you came into contact with the absolute God-slaying poison, while you are still tainted by the evil infant devilish energy, the consequences would probably be unimaginable. This is a treacherous, deadly poison that comes with heavy consequences. Normally, no one would even think to use it. But since this is the Southern Sea God Emperor we're talking about, it becomes not a matter of willingness, but courage. There is no reason to believe that the Southern Sea God Emperor hasn't considered what you have already considered, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. Suddenly, she stopped herself before shooting Qianye Fanshan a glance. "Oh, it looks like this king's worries are unfounded. The Brahma Heaven God Emperor has nothing to fear from this poison. In that case, let us leave Yun Qi." "You must be busy, Brahma Heaven God Emperor. You don't need to send us off. Goodbye." In Yun Qi's opinion, the way Xia Qingyue had planted the seeds of doubt in Qianye Fanshan's mind was borderline scary. In fact, calling them the seeds of doubt might be understating things. He should say that she had planted a shadow in Qianye Fanshan's heart. Would something happen when a poison and the evil infant devilish energy was mixed together? No one knew. No one had even seen it before. One thing was certain, though, there was nothing more terrifying than the unknown. The absolute god-slaying poison was the poison that had afflicted Jasmine. In other words, Southern Sea God Emperor Nan Wansheng was the man who had nearly killed Jasmine back then. Yunqi knew very little about the Southern Sea God Emperor, but even just Xia Qingyue's words today were enough to make him realize how insidious and ungod emperor-like that man really was. Hell, he might actually be a perfect match for Qianye Ying'er. After Yunqi and Xia Qingyue had gone far enough, Qianye Fanshan's eyes slowly turned gloomy and puzzled. The space next to him distorted for a little, and Qianye Ying'er appeared soon after. What is going on? Qianye Fanshan spent a long time thinking. There was something deeply wrong about this whole thing. They didn't come for the primordial seal of life and death. Qianye Ying'er's eyebrows sank as she said in a low tone, "Also, I have a feeling that she knows that I'm here, but she pretended not to notice. This means that she wasn't here for me either." That was all the insight both Qianye Fanshan and Qianye Ying'er had managed to glean. They just couldn't figure out the reason behind Xia Qingyue and Yunqi's visits. Making him owe a huge favor couldn't possibly be all they were looking for, right? "How'd it go?" Xia Qingyue asked on the profound arc as they returned. "It's a success." Yunqi exhaled slightly before continuing. "The poison will surface completely once 6 hours have passed. Qianye Fanshan wouldn't dare touch the evil infant devilish energy without good reason, so he shouldn't be able to discover the sky poison concealed inside it." "Good. Still," although everything had gone smoothly, Yunqi couldn't wipe out the lingering fear inside of him completely. He said, "This is Qianye Fanshan we're talking about. I can't believe we actually did that. I wouldn't dare make such a gamble if you didn't have the heaven-smiting devil emperor's backing either," Xia Qingyue said calmly. "We should know the results by tomorrow. If it succeeds, then all is well. If it fails, I will bear the consequences as a matter of course. I'm the one who did the poisoning. I will bear the consequences with you if it turns out to be a failure," said Yunqi in a seemingly careless manner. "You should take care of your own business first." Xia Qingyue ignored his statement completely and said, "Have you figured out a way to deal with the devil god's return?" Yunqi shook his head while replying, "Not even close." Xia Qingyue, Honger and Yue were his greatest hope, but the mortals of this world are currently too weak to handle the likes of devil emperors and devil gods. Xia Qingyue softened her voice and said, "You don't need to put too much pressure on yourself. You don't need to force yourself to succeed. You're not the chosen Messiah and you have no obligation to become one." Yunqi smiled at her and replied, "Amen, I know." "Thank you." Yunqi's gratitude caused Xia Qingyue to look away. Her eyes were hiding a mix of complex emotions. "By the way, you haven't returned to the Dragon God realm and visited Senior Shenzai, have you?" Xia Qingyue asked evenly. "She's the one who saved your life and gave you your light, profound energy. Without her, today's plot would never have come to fruition." "That is true," said Yunqi while leaning against a wall. His expression looked a little odd for some reason, "and I won't be going anytime soon." "Why? Is it because she's currently in secluded cultivation?" Xia Qingyue turned back towards him. Yunqi shook his head a little unnaturally and said, "I'm not sure what happened over there, but I can tell you that she's definitely not in secluded cultivation right now." "Oh," Xia Qingyue sounded like her interest was piqued. "The Dragon Monarch is the one who declared that Dragon Queen Shen Zai is in secluded cultivation. This is no secret at the Dragon God realm either. Why do you think that?" "It's because I know her better than anyone, ahem. What I'm trying to say is Shen Zai's profound energy is very special, and normal secluded cultivation is completely unnecessary for her. In addition, the Forbidden Land of Samsara is the biggest forbidden land in the Dragon God realm, and the only person who can disturb her at will is the Dragon Monarch. If she really wanted to be left alone, she would close off the entire Forbidden Land of Samsara without even informing the Dragon Monarch. The Dragon Monarch would learn on his own once he noticed that the entrance was closed anyway, even if she did inform him beforehand for some reason. She is an incredibly aloof person who doesn't want to have anything to do with the secular world at all. She wouldn't have allowed the Dragon Monarch to make her secluded cultivation public to the entire Dragon God realm, much less the outside world. Xia Qingyue. Moreover, there exists a special wall between her and the Dragon Monarch, a wall that no outsider would ever believe unless they saw it with their own eyes, and that was before mentioning a certain bigger, more special reason. Unless she had no other choice, she would never borrow anything from the dragon monarch or owe him anything. Therefore, even if she was planning to go into secluded cultivation for a long time, she would never ask the dragon monarch to build another sealing barrier for her. Xia Qingyue shot Qianye a deep look. That's why I was confused when the Eternal Heaven God Emperor told me that Xianxia had gone into secluded cultivation back in the Snow Song realm. When I ran into the Dragon Monarch later in the Eternal Heaven realm, the way he looked and spoke to me was also incredibly. Well, it's nothing. Qianye suddenly cut himself off forcefully. You only stayed in the forbidden land of Samsara for a year, and you know Senior Xianxia this well already? Xia Qingyue asked in a meaningful tone. Don't be ridiculous. Understanding a woman is not nearly so simple. Qianye curled his lips while he was saying this. He seemed to be hinting at something. These are just her basic habits and principles. Right now, Senior Jia Yuan requires all my attention, and I cannot afford to split my focus right now. I need to learn more about this before I head to the Dragon God realm, or something might. You seem unusually careful and hesitant, and why am I sensing a bit of secrecy from you? Xia Qingyue's eyes flashed slightly. Did you do something that is best left unsaid in the Dragon God realm? No, I didn't. Qianye shook his head immediately. This is my personal matter. I'll handle it myself. What happened between him and Xianxia was absolutely taboo. Not even Xia Qingyue or Mu Xunian could know about this. So far, Xia Qingyue had displayed a terrifying amount of shrewdness. Worried that he would let something slip if they continued on this topic, Qianye forcefully changed the subject and said, I've been wanting to ask this for a while now, but what is that item you're carrying on your neck? Xia Qingyue's gaze froze for a second. She didn't give him an answer. Qianye's only motive was to distract Xia Qingyue, but her unusual reaction actually piqued his interest. He leaned forward and asked, What is it? I've never seen you wear anything like this, but you're wearing this one close to your person, and you hadn't taken it off even when we were screwing over Qianye Fanchen just now. Say, it's not a gift from another man, is it? Childish. Xia Qingyue snorted before taking off the round mirror on her neck. You may take a look at it if you want to. Qianye accepted it and gave it a look. He then asked in confusion, This looks like an incredibly average bronze mirror. Why are you wearing this? My mother left this to me, Xia Qingyue said. The profound image of my father Yuanba and a younger me is kept inside. It's also the only thing that my mother took with her when she left my father. Qianye had already heard of Yue Wuya and Yue Wugu's ending from Mu Xunian, so Xia Qingyue's words caused his expression to stiffen a little. The bronze mirror in his hands suddenly felt a little heavy, and his movements had become a lot more cautious. I see, may I open it and take a look? Do as you please, said Xia Qingyue. Qianye gently opened the bronze mirror to reveal a profound image about 3 inches long. Inside the profound image was a man about 30 years old and a pair of children about 3 to 4 years old. Qianye immediately realized that the man was a younger Xia Hongyi. Unlike his current collected self, the Xia Hongyi in the profound image was smiling and in high spirits. The girl looked like a jade carving. She was incredibly tiny and young, but the shadows of her beauty were already peeking through at the time. The young boy was even younger than the girl was, but his body didn't match up to his age at all. Although he was only 3 years old, he could almost described as fit already. I didn't know you were this cute when you were young, Qingyue, Qianye said with a smile. His childhood memories were of course a blur at this point, and he had rarely met Xia Qingyue until they had gotten married at the age of 16. That was why his impression of Xia Qingyue before she was 16 was vague, even though they lived in the same city and were engaged since birth. As for Yuanba, I guess it wasn't just after you grew up. Even when you were younger, the two of you didn't look like brother and sister at all. Xia Qingyue. Qianye looked up and said, If your mother kept this with her in secret all this time, then, all right, enough. Xia Qingyue cut him off before he could finish. I don't want to hear this. Qianye stopped talking and lowered his gaze. He was just about to fold the bronze mirror together when suddenly his eyebrows jumped upward. Inside the bronze mirror, Xia Hongyi looked exactly the same as before. However, the child standing next to him was just a thin and childish-looking boy. These were the only 2 people in the profound image. There was no unusually brawny Xia Yuanba, and Xia Qingyue was nowhere to be seen. His frown abruptly deepened, and he shook his head strongly. When he looked at the profound image once more, everything had returned back to normal. There was Xia Hongyi, a brawny Xia Yuanba, and Xia Qingyue once more. I must be seeing things just now. What's wrong? Qianye's sudden change in expression and head shaking provoked a response from Xia Qingyue. Nothing. My mind went blank for a second. It's probably because I used up too much profound energy. Yun-Chi folded the bronze mirror carefully before passing it back to Xia Qingyue. Your mother is my mother-in-law in name, but I never got the chance to meet her in person. This will remain a big mark of regret in my life. I hope her life in the other world will be happy and carefree. Xia Qingyue accepted the bronze mirror and put it back on her neck. She hadn't taken it off once for the past few years until just now. Brahma Monarch God Realm. Xia Qingyue's obviously leading words had left a poisonous thorn in Qianye Fanchun's side. It was simply impossible to ignore or forget everything she had said. If a person afflicted by the evil infant devilish energy was poisoned with the absolute god-slaying poison as well, would it create a change drastic enough to kill even a god emperor? No one knew the answer to that because it had never happened before in the current world, and that was exactly why the fear of the unknown was so scary. Moreover, myriad tribulations had been the result of the sky poison pearl's poison and the evil infant devilish energy combining into one. It was the two scariest words in the entire primal chaos since ancient times. As a result, even though Qianye Fanchun knew that Xia Qingyue was trying to do something to him with her words, he still remembered every single word to the point of distraction. At this point, he still had no idea that a terrifying devil had been planted inside his body. When the sky poison pearl had regained its poison spirit, it didn't just mean that its poison energy would regenerate at a quicker rate. The special sky poison it produced also gained a life and consciousness of its own as well. Of course, the controllers of this new life and consciousness were none other than He Ling and Yun-Chi. When they had slipped the sky poison into Qianye Fanchun's body undetected, they had ordered it to activate 6 hours later. So 6 hours later, before Yun-Chi and Xia Qingyue had even returned to the Moon God Realm, the sky poison had executed its orders exactly as promised. Inside the temple, Qianye Fanchun was meditating in silence when suddenly, he opened his eyes as started trembling violently and losing control of his aura. The 9th Brahma king guarding at the front of the temple felt his heart quicken as he turned around to look at the god emperor. He simply could not remember the last time Qianye Fanchun's aura had reacted this violently. "What's wrong, god emperor?" Qianye Fanchun shook again and fell forward right after he was done asking the question. Pitch-black smoke burst out of the god emperor's body and turned his complexion black in just the blink of an eye. And a soul-rending chill started spreading with impossible speed across the whole temple. "This is," the 9th Brahma King's expression changed drastically, "a devilish energy outbreak. But didn't Yun-Chi just purify the god emperor a couple of hours ago? Why is it?" That wasn't all. This outbreak actually looked worse than any of the previous outbreaks. The 9th Brahma King's pupils abruptly shrank to the size of needles before he could finish. It was because a dark green-colored light had burst out of Qianye Fanchun's body right after the black energy. At this point, Qianye Fanchun's face had become distorted by pain and suffering. The sky poison power awakened in full force like a green devil god, bringing with it the dark devil god that was already inside the god emperor's body. "Poison, it's poison. You are..." At his level, he should be immune to all curses or poison, but Qianye Fanchun was suffering from so much pain that his face had become as distorted as a wraith's. Letting out a scream of immeasurable pain and collapsing on the ground, the god emperor actually couldn't get back to his feet until after he trembled for a long time. The 9th Brahma King watched in disbelief as Qianye Fanchun's aura became even more chaotic than before. Not only did the power of his god emperor fail to suppress the rampaging black light inside his body, it did even less against the green, soul-chilling light that was racking his body. Would something strange happen when the sky poison pearl came into contact with the evil infant devilish energy? No one knew. Because of the existence of myriad tribulations, Xia Qingyue guessed that perhaps there would be some strange occurrences, but it was still just a guess. Even if there were none, the chances of her plan succeeding would still be high. But if there were any, her chances would be even better. And the answer was yes. The sky poison pearl and the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations belonged to the devil race during the ancient era. Both of them were precious treasures that possessed extremely harmful energies. And if these two frighteningly harmful energies came into contact with each other, they would provoke each other and amplify each other's effects. There was only a small remainder of the evil infant devilish energy inside of Qianye Fanchun. and the poison that entered his body was but a small dosage of the sky poison that had just barely recovered over the last few years. But the moment both the sky poison and the evil infant devilish energy erupted, it would be like countless flaming shooting stars falling into a dormant volcano. If it were the eruption of either the devilish energy or the sky poison, given Qianye Fanchun's abilities, he could probably still withstand it with some difficulty. But when both of them exploded at the same time, it was the first time that the #1 God Emperor in the Eastern Divine region had clearly felt what it was like to fall into an abyss of such incomparable pain and terror. A golden figure flashed into the hall as Qianye Ying'er appeared like a ghost. Her brows pinched together slightly when she saw Qianye Fanchun's condition and asked in a low tone, "What's going on?" "Poison. The Lord God Emperor said that it's poison," the 9th Brahma King said in an urgent tone. "Poison? That's impossible," Qianye Ying'er said. "There is no poison in this world that is able to push my royal father into this state." After she had finished her sentence, she took a step forward, but immediately she retreated as if she had been electrocuted, her expression showing great shock. A poisonous aura, she could sense a violent poisonous aura from Qianye Fanchun's body. This poisonous aura was incomparably frightening, to the extent that she did not dare to believe it. It was much more frightening than the #1 devilish poison, absolute God-slaying poison, which she had personally sensed and came into contact with before. "Sky Poison Pearl, it's the Sky Poison Pearl." Qianye Fanchun, who lay curled up on the ground, raised his head, a ghastly blackish-green color staining his face. Within this short span of a few breaths, his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. His God Emperor powers were circulating in his body without reserve. Even the space around him had started to chaotically distort because of him. But in front of the evil infant devilish energy and the sky poison's power, his strength as the #1 God Emperor in the Eastern region was like water flowing over a boulder. He could try to resist or suppress it, but he would never be able to eliminate even the slightest bit of it. And if he slightly relaxed his energy circulation, the two demons in his body would completely explode. Even then, Qianye Fanchun's mind and the look in his eyes were still terrifyingly sober. He shouted with a hoarse and trembling voice, "When his profound energy entered my body, he took that opportunity to poison me. This was the Xia Qingyue and Yun Qi's true motive, arghhhh. In this universe, there were very few things that could cause an existence like Qianye Fanchun to scream in such pain and agony. Currently, he looked exactly like a demon that was being cruelly tortured in purgatory. At every instant, his expression and body were contorting in a frightening manner, and drops of sweat poured down his body like torrential rain. When profound energy enters the body, it could destroy one's internal organs. Thus, one would only allow a person who they either trust or who poses no threat to do so. To Qianye Fanchun, Yun Qi clearly belonged to the latter category because given his cultivation level, even if he gathered all his profound strength and bombed his internal organs, he would not be able to deal any real damage at all. Moreover, even if he really tried to pull any tricks, Qianye Fanchun would be able to tell in the first moment. However, he did not sense Yun Qi poisoning his body at all, not even the least bit. This was also the one thing that was the most shocking and puzzling to him even as he suffered under that extreme pain. "The sky, poison, pearl." The 9th Brahma King's expression changed continuously. The matter of Yun Qi possessing the sky poison pearl had started to quietly spread ever since the day the Devil Emperor returned. As one of the heavenly profound treasures, everyone knew of its terrifying potency and ability to purify. But putting aside the matter of its terrifying potency first, he was still unable to understand how Yun Qi was able to secretly poison the Brahma Heaven God Emperor. Qianye Ying'er's gaze grew tightly focused as she said in a low voice, "What a clever feint, Xia Qingyue. Looks like I've really underestimated you." When Xia Qingyue first arrived, she managed to shift all their attention on to the primordial seal of life and death without even saying a single word. Meanwhile, cleansing the devilish energy was nothing but a pretense. They were not wary about this matter at all, and none of their attention had ever been directed towards it. At this moment, both Qianye Fanchun and her were roused from their stupor. Their true motive had actually been to deceive them all along. Clearly, this was Xia Qingyue's and Yun Qi's revenge, and both father and daughter had actually been played by them. Qianye Ying'er stretched out her pale hand. A faint golden ray flashed, and instantly the poisonous aura in the air was swiftly suppressed. This made her secretly heave a sigh of relief before taking a step forward and saying, Looks like the poison of the sky poison pearl can be suppressed after all. Royal Father, how is your condition? No, Qianye Ying'er painfully shook his head. Although it can be forcefully suppressed, it cannot be dispelled. PFFFFTT. Qianye Ying'er's body violently shook suddenly, and he spat out a large mouthful of black blood at the same time. An extremely acrid and rotten stench spread rapidly, filling the hall. Normal darkness, profound energy would not cause the two great God Emperors, the Brahma Heaven God Emperor and Eternal Heaven God Emperor, to be in such helpless pain, and any normal poison would be neutralized easily by the strength of a God Emperor. But be it the evil infant devilish energy or the sky poison, both of them had originated from the evil strength of a heavenly profound treasure. Even 10 Qianye Ying'ers would not be able to truly dispel it. After violently spitting out a mouthful of black blood, Qianye Ying'er's complexion did not get any better. Rather, an even denser layer of black energy seemed to cloud his face. Even his pupils had a clear hint of gloomy dark green. Qianye Ying'er was chilled to the bone and swiftly shouted, "Number 9, quickly send a sound transmission to summon all the Brahma kings in the realm." After several breaths, 7 auras flew towards the Brahma Heaven Temple with extreme speed. Without time for any further explanation, all 8 of the Brahma kings who were in the realm quickly sat in a circle surrounding Qianye Ying'er. The incomparably tyrannical strength of the Brahma kings simultaneously circulated, linked, and concentrated. Together they suppressed the erupting sky poison and raging devilish energy in Qianye Ying'er's body. Every single Brahma king had the power to shake the earth. Combining the strength of 8 Brahma kings was like having 8 golden dragons enter into Qianye Ying'er's body. In addition of Qianye Ying'er's own strength, this powerful suppressive force was definitely not something that a normal person would be able to imagine. This strength was able to eradicate all the evil and poisonous energies in this universe in a short amount of time, and no one would doubt it. The devilish energy inside Qianye Ying'er had been frequently suppressed with the help of the Brahma gods and Brahma kings over these past few years. But, with the strength of a god emperor and 8 Brahma kings, the devilish energy and poisonous aura were swiftly suppressed as expected. It became weaker little by little and gradually. When the poisonous aura and devilish energy had been completely constricted, they thought that it would go temporarily dormant. However, the poisonous aura and devilish energy suddenly counterattacked like 2 devil gods that had been thoroughly enraged. The poisonous aura of the sky poison followed the 8 beams of profound energy that came from the Brahma kings and flowed through them like electricity as it mercilessly entered into the bodies of the 8 great Brahma kings. 8 dark green demonic rays of light exploded from the bodies of the 8 great Brahma kings. They opened their eyes simultaneously, as their bodies twisted and trembled in pain due to the virulent poison that had suddenly erupted all over their bodies. Moon God Realm, the God Emperor's bedchambers. After returning to the Moon God Realm, Qianye became a lot quieter. It was as if he had consumed too much energy when cleansing the devilish energy. He had closed his eyes as he continued to recuperate, and he did not even speak for a long time. "Master, your mind seems to be uneasy. What are you worried about?" Healing gently asked. Qianye replied, "It's not that. It's just that I've encountered a difficult problem." In the past, it was his habit to ask Jasmine for help if he encountered anything difficult. But now the one accompanying him was Healing, and they were different. At least until now, he did not have that deep subconscious reliance on Healing as he did on Jasmine. "A difficult problem? Is it that you are not able to think of a method to deal with the return of the devil gods?" Healing asked again. "It's not about that." Qianye opened his eyes. The place was quiet and he was alone. Xia Qingyue's figure was nowhere to be found. "Recently, I've been having strange dreams, and the things that happened in my dreams were extremely absurd. I would normally forget about such absurd dreams immediately, but I remember these dreams exceptionally clearly, and this includes every single scene and every sentence said." "Remembering scenes from your dreams is a very normal thing," Healing said softly. "Why is Master concerned about this? I did not pay much attention to it at first." Qianye gave a small sigh. "But on the way back to the Moon God Realm, for some odd reason, a strange scene from that dream appeared in my head. Such situations have been appearing continuously, and it is getting really hard to convince myself that everything is a hallucination or an illusion, and these things are the complete opposite of what I remember and know. They surely cannot be real, but I keep getting bizarrely moved by these dreams in an indescribable manner." Qianye shook his head. These were things that could not possibly be real, and they had only appeared in his dreams or when he was daydreaming, yet they had been indelibly etched into his heart in an incomparably clear manner. This was truly an extremely strange feeling, and it was something that Qianye had never experienced before. After hearing what Qianye said, Ling ended up confused, and she could not relate to his feelings. But she could sense the unease in Qianye's heart. She thought for a while and said, "Master, you don't seem to have encountered such a problem before. When did this begin?" Qianye rubbed his chin and slowly replied, "Ling, you've asked a good question." "Eh?" Qianye did not say anything else and suddenly turned silent. "That's right, when did it all start? What was the turning point?" Xia Qingyue stood on the roof for a few hours outside her bedchambers. As her body was bathed in the moonlight, apathy was reflected in those beautiful eyes, and no one knew her thoughts. At this moment, the glow of the moon flashed in front of her, and the figure of a young girl appeared. The aura of the young girl was slightly disturbed, and she panted a little. Xia Qingyue glanced sideways and asked gently, "It seems that our efforts have borne fruit." "Yes," Lion Yue replied respectfully, "there is news from the Brahma monarch god realm. The Brahma heaven god emperor has been afflicted with a deadly poison, causing the evil infant devilish energy and the deadly poison to erupt simultaneously. After that, 8 Brahma kings gathered together to suppress the devilish energy and deadly poison, but the deadly poison entered their bodies instead." "Oh," Xia Qingyue's eyes glimmered. "What an unexpected but pleasant surprise." Upon hearing the words of Lion Yue, Xia Qingyue's heart was definitely not as calm as what her appearance would have you believe. The 8 Brahma kings gathering to suppress the poison in Qianye Ying'er was something that she expected. But she had never thought that all 8 of the Brahma kings would also be poisoned. The power of the sky poison could follow one's profound energy and directly enter the body without any direct contact. No wonder none of the gods and devils back then could escape from myriad tribulations. The Brahma monarch god realm has already sealed their realm up, and it would be difficult for our people to enter their core districts. But it's clear enough that the Brahma heaven god emperor and the other 8 great Brahma kings are in very bad shape. "I understand. You may leave now." "Oh, right." Xia Qingyue's eyes turned serene as her voice suddenly turned cold. "If anyone from the Brahma monarch god realm arrives, forcefully expel them even if they are a Brahma king. The only exception will be Qianye Ying'er." "Yes." Lion Yue left silently, and Xia Qingyue's chest violently heaved for a short while before she finally gave a very soft sigh. When the poison flared up in Qianye Ying'er's body, the evil infant devilish energy had erupted at the same time. Following that, all 8 Brahma kings were also poisoned simultaneously. As such, when facing the power of the sky poison pearl, that could not be dispelled no matter what. And the strange changes she had warned Qianye Ying'er about, what the Brahma monarch god realm had to confront was the fear of losing their god emperor along with 8 Brahma kings. After just losing 3 Brahma gods and being antagonized by the Southern Sea god emperor, who was trying to kick them while they were down, would the Brahma monarch god realm truly be able to last for more than 40 hours under such unprecedented fear? Ugh. Groans of pain rang out throughout the Brahma heaven temple, and these groans of pain were not coming from any ordinary people. They came from the Brahma god realm's god emperor and Brahma kings, and most of them were actually coming from Qianye Ying'er himself. A strange and bewitching dark green light twined around their bodies, with the green light on Qianye Ying'er's body being denser and thicker than the rest. Other than that green light, a shocking black energy would erupt from his body every now and then. His expression also kept changing amidst the alternating blackish green and dark green lights. The poison that afflicted the 8 great Brahma kings was naturally far less potent than what was afflicting Qianye Ying'er, but they still wore expressions of extreme pain on their faces. To be able to torment a god emperor and the Brahma kings to such an extent, one could well imagine just how frightening this sky poison was. The Brahma kings who were abroad had rushed back the moment they heard the news, but not a single person dared to approach them, and extreme fear and unease was present on every single one of their faces. Is this truly the poison from the sky poison pearl?" The first Brahma king, who had just returned to the realm, asked with a pitch-black expression on his face. As the head of all the Brahma kings, he was unable to keep his composure for even a single instant when faced with such a situation, and when he spoke, both his hands and voice were slightly trembling. Even with the combined strength of the god emperor and the 8 of us, we were unable to cleanse away any part of it. Ka. The ninth Brahma king only spoke a single sentence, but that light exhalation of air already caused the pain on his face to multiply. Instead, it followed our profound energy and counter-invaded our bodies. Other than the sky poison pearl, what else in the world could produce such a tyrannical and frightening poison? K. Can we truly not cleanse away any of it? The first Brahma king said in a shocked voice. Yes, the other poisoned Brahma kings nodded their heads at the same time. The words that they spoke died in gloom and despair. We were completely unable to. Even given the body and power the Brahma kings possessed, they still said such things, and every word they said undoubtedly filled everyone present with shock and disbelief. Unless it dissipates on its own, if not, I'm afraid that we will have to live the rest of lives being tormented by this virulent poison. Heh, the rest of our lives? Another Brahma king let out a miserable laugh. The moment our strength is exhausted, this frightening poison will devour our bodies and lives, so how long do you think we can actually last? As those cruel words were pronounced, the expressions of all of the Brahma kings, who were already writhing in pain, turned even worse. If it's just us, then it's fine, the third Brahma king said. But the God Emperor, the poison he has been afflicted with is 10 times worse than ours, and it even caused his devilish energy to go berserk. If this continues, PFFFT. Before the third Brahma king even finished speaking, Qianye Fanshan's entire body violently swayed as he vomited out another great mouthful of blood. The blood was blackish red, and it was tinged with a dark green color. God Emperor! The first Brahma king was greatly shocked, and just as he was about to rush forward, he heard Qianye Ying'er rebuke him. Don't go near them. Do you want the sky poison to invade your body too? The first Brahma king immediately froze in place. He was left at a complete loss. Royal Father, how do you feel right now? Qianye Ying'er was the only one who still maintained some composure. Heh, he. Qianye Fanshan let out a hoarse laugh. As expected of the sky poison pearl, a poisonous energy that was so minuscule that even I could not detect it, yet it actually pushed me, Qianye Fanshan, into such a corner. Also, the words that Xia Qingyue said before she left. At first, I thought that she was trying to distract me and cause me to overthink matters. But it turns out that she was reminding me that when the poison of the sky poison pearl combines with the devilish energy of the evil infant, it would cause me to die a dog's death, heh. Kukuka. A hearty laugh actually caused blood to crazily gush from Qianye Fanshan's mouth, and an extremely acrid stench quickly spread through the entire Brahma Heaven Temple. God Emperor, what should we do now? Should we immediately ask the eternal Heaven God realm for help? The first Brahma king said as he forced himself to remain calm. Eternal Heaven. Even Royal Father has been pushed into a corner, so what can Eternal Heaven do? Could it be that the Eternal Heaven Pearl can also purge poisons? Qianye Ying'er growled. Every single ray of light coming from her golden eyes contained an endless sinister chill. Then what exactly should we do? HMPH, what else can we do? Qianye Ying'er said in a cold voice. This is the poison from the sky poison pearl, so the one thing that can purge is naturally the sky poison pearl. Do all of you still not understand the meaning behind Xia Qingyue's and Yun Qi's actions? So they want us to go and beg them, the first Brahma king said as he clenched his fists tightly. It's not you. Qianye Ying'er's voice was as deep as any abyss. It's me. Their goal was never any of you or Royal Father, it has always been me. She had planted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark on Yun Qi back then, forcing him to run to the Dragon God realm. She was also the person who had very nearly masterminded Jasmine's death all those years ago. She had also been the one who had nearly caused the death of Xia Qingyue's mother, terribly altering her fate back then, and she had also been the one who forced Xia Qingyue into a desperate situation. Without a shadow of a doubt, whether it was Xia Qingyue or Yun Qi, both possessed a bone-deep hatred for her. This was the vengeance that Yun Qi and Xia Qingyue were taking against her. Qianye Ying'er knew that Xia Qingyue would definitely seek revenge after she was crowned God Emperor, but she never imagined it would actually come so swiftly, and in such a despicable manner at that. She had originally believed that Xia Qingyue, a righteous person who was never willing to harm others, would be an extremely patient person who disdained using despicable methods. Your Highness, the first Brahma king said as his brows suddenly sank, could it be that you really want to go? You must not. Qianye Fanshan, who was being plagued by both the sky poison and devilish energy at the same time, let out a furious cry. He opened his eyes, and his pained voice was laced with a sinister gloom that it had never held before. My Brahma monarch god realm, my Qianye Ying'er's daughter, how can we bend our heads towards the moon god realm? Qianye Ying'er. Even though this poison and devilish energy are very scary, I can still hold on for a short period of time. During this period of time, we might still be able to find a way to solve this mess. Qianye Ying'er let out the roughest and most guttural voice they had ever heard. Yet it still contained the unquestionable majesty of a god emperor. Even if we can't find a solution, Xia Qingyue will still take the initiative to come here and purge this poison afflicting me. She would not dare to let me die. She would not dare. If I die, then her moon god realm will definitely suffer the full wrath and retaliation of the Brahma monarch god realm. Furthermore, after killing the #1 god emperor in the eastern region for no rhyme or reason, the entire god realm will focus their attention on the moon god realm. So she definitely won't dare to. Although his entire body was racked in nightmarish pain, and he had been thrown into a deep abyss of despair, Qianye Ying'er was still frighteningly clear-headed. Qianye Ying'er closed her eyes faintly and said, "She is Xia Qingyue, not Yue Wuya. She was not born in the moon god realm, and she has only been in the moon god realm for a mere 10 years. Why would she have any deep feelings for the moon god realm? I'm afraid that even her sense of belonging towards the moon god realm is thin and shallow. Furthermore, inheriting the will of Yue Wuya was only a secondary reason for why she succeeded the title of God Emperor. Her greatest goal has always been to take revenge on me. Thus, while other moon god emperors definitely would not dare to do so, she might really dare to do such a thing." When they had been in the god realm of Absolute beginning that year, and Qianye Ying'er had planted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark on Xianxia before ripping apart Xia Qingyue's outer garments. The look Xia Qingyue had given her, and the words that she had said were things that Qianye Ying'er could not forget. Ever since she became a god emperor, there were many things that were beyond her control. To drag the entire moon god realm into danger because of a personal grievance, I am convinced that she would not dare do such a thing. This is a gamble, and even if she can win, she won't dare to win. Because he had kept speaking, Qianye Ying'er's complexion grew even more shocking, and a moss-green color that was growing deeper and deeper shrouded his eyes. "That's right, this is a gamble," Qianye Ying'er said in a low voice as she closed her eyes. "But what she's gambling with is something that I dare not gamble with." "Ying'er," Qianye Ying'er risked the devilish energy flaring up as his voice suddenly grew several times more severe. "Listen here, remember your status and remember everything that I've ever taught you. Even if I am truly going to die, you must never do anything that you're not supposed to do. If not, you won't ever be worthy of being my daughter anymore. #1, all of you keep a close eye on her. Until the point of my death, you are not allowed to let her take a single step out of Brahma Heaven City." "God Emperor?" The first Brahma King took a single step forward, his face twitching with unease. Royal Father, you're underestimating me far too much," Qianye Ying'er said with a dull laugh. "I promised you this all those years ago, that aside from Royal Father, I would never ever bend my head or my knee to anyone else. All of creation would be as dogs and fodder to me. If I can use them, I will obtain them. If they are useless, I will discard them. And if I can't obtain them, I will destroy them. If it comes down to it, even Royal Father is also something that can be abandoned or used. So why would I let myself be muzzled by Xia Qingyue just for the sake of Royal Father?" Qianye Ying'er's expression finally relaxed a little. "Very good, it's fine as long as you have not forgotten. HMPH, Xia Qingyue, Qianye Ying'er said in a deep and low voice, "Did the two of you really think that I would be rendered helpless? Even though you became a god emperor, you were still only born as a lowly peasant in the lower realms. How could either of you even fathom the depths of our Brahma monarch god realm? #1, all of you stay here and guard Royal Father." Qianye Ying'er turned around and walked towards the exit. "Your Highness, you are. I am going to see the venerable ancestor," Qianye Ying'er said in a cold voice. "Why, do you want to accompany me?" The two words, venerable ancestor, that Qianye Ying'er had said oh so casually, caused the bodies of all the Brahma kings to shake violently. Terror appeared on the face of the first Brahma king before his expression turned hopeful, and he hurriedly said, "No, I don't dare. But if the venerable ancestor is willing to make an appearance, this crisis will surely be solved." HMPH? With a cold snort, Qianye Ying'er's body vanished from the temple. However, she did not go and see the venerable ancestor that she talked about. Instead, she went to a secluded forest and coldly stared at the scenery in front of her as she lay silent for a very long time. The Brahma monarch god realm had suddenly closed its doors, and the core Brahma heaven city had also descended into a bizarre silence. Time slowly flowed by amidst the silence. 2 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours. A day passed by. 24 hours had passed, and to an existence on the level of a king realm, this amount of time was nothing more than an instant of meditation. However, to Qianye Ying'er, it was the longest and most painful 24 hours of his entire life. That was because he was sinking into a nightmare that grew deeper and deeper with every passing second. The evil infant's devilish energy and the sky poison's poison. All of the Brahma kings had gathered in the Brahma Heaven Temple, but they were at their wits' end, and only fear remained in their hearts. Even the 8 great Brahma kings, who had only been afflicted with far less poison than Qianye Ying'er, the pain they felt today was several times more intense than it had been yesterday. Their auras were becoming exceptionally weak and disturbed, and various weird changes could be seen on their bodies. A poison that even the strength of a god emperor and a Brahma king were unable to purge in any way. This was definitely a nightmare. It was an absolutely ridiculous nightmare. As time continued to pass, fear had started to crazily pile up in their hearts. Qianye Ying'er was convinced that Xia Qingyue would not dare force him into a dead end. However, an entire day had passed, but she had not appeared, and no movement could be detected from the moon god realm. Meanwhile, Qianye Ying'er's condition had been swiftly getting worse and worse. If he truly died, and the 8 great Brahma kings also died one after another because of this sky poison that could not be purged, the damage done to the Brahma monarch god realm would be so huge that it would basically be unimaginable. It was not something they could endure. The first Brahma king continuously paced about the temple, his body already drenched in sweat. Finally, he could not restrain himself any longer. He came to a sudden stop and said in a deep voice, "God Emperor, we cannot wait any longer. What Her Highness said previously is definitely not impossible. If that moon god emperor is truly a lunatic." "Shut up," the Brahma heaven god emperor roared as he raised his head and stared at the first Brahma king icily. "How can this king bend my head to her moon god realm? She definitely won't dare." "But what if, the first Brahma king said. "The god emperor's life is more valuable than anything. Even if there is the slightest possibility, we definitely cannot allow it." Qianye Ying'er's features twisted in urgency. His expression turned so dark that it became as terrifying as an evil spirit. "Whoever dares to go to the moon god realm, this king will kill him first." Shock appeared on the first Brahma king's face. He did not know that Qianye Ying'er would behave in such a pig-headed and irrational manner when it came to this matter, which concerned his life and the future of the Brahma monarch god realm. "Go, and call Ying'er here." Yes. Qianye Ying'er, who had left for a very long time, soon arrived. Just as she stepped into the Brahma Heaven Temple, that aura, which had drastically changed, caused her golden brows to abruptly sink, and upon seeing Qianye Ying'er, her footsteps clearly faltered. The current Qianye Ying'er, the #1 god emperor of the eastern region whose fame shook the heavens, was completely unrecognizable. His entire face had turned a frightening moss green, and his body had swelled to twice its previous size. From time to time, waves of agitated black energy would rise from his body as well. At this moment, if anyone were to see him, even if it were the other god emperors, they definitely would not be able to recognize that this was actually Qianye Ying'er. "Royal Father," Qianye Ying'er addressed him in a low voice as she arrived in front of him. She did not say anything else. "Kneel." Qianye Ying'er opened his eyes. Even though he spoke that single word, he was still as imposing as ever. However, a deep frailty could be heard in his voice. In just a short span of 24 hours, a god emperor had been tortured into such a state. Perhaps Yuan Qi himself had not thought of it. But after the sky poison pearl had obtained He Ling, even that slight dose of sky poison was already this terrifying. Of course, the evil infant devilish energy was the other important reason. Qianye Ying'er obeyed and knelt down. Qianye Ying'er let out a long breath, as if he was drawing out all of his remaining energy. After several breaths, he stretched out his clearly distorted arm, and an incomparably dazzling golden light started radiating from his hand. In an instant, the entire body of the Brahma Heaven God Emperor was completely shrouded in golden light. "The Brahma Soul Bell!" The gathered Brahma kings gasped in astonishment as shock appeared on their faces. The Brahma Soul Bell, the most important core divine artifact that the Brahma monarch god realm possessed, something that could only be held by their god emperor. The Brahma Soul Bell was the medium through which the core divine powers of the Brahma monarch god realm were passed down from generation to generation. It was similar to the Star God Realm's Star God Wheel and the Moon God Realm's Imperial Moon Glazed Pearl. The key difference was that the Brahma Soul Bell was not only a divine artifact used for inheritance, it could also control all of the divine powers related to the Brahma Monarch God Realm. In the ancient era, the Brahma Heaven God clan were the strongest and most warlike of all the god clans under Mo-E, and the two things that were the most taboo to them, the two things that they simply could not tolerate, were disobedience and betrayal. As a result, the Brahma Soul Bell was created. Holding the Brahma Soul Bell in one's hand also meant that one held the lives of all the Brahma gods and kings in their hand. Not only was it able to decide the inheritance of these core divine powers, it was also able to completely control and restrict the divine powers of the inheritors. In fact, it could even forcibly strip away their powers and cripple them. As a result, their god emperor who possessed the Brahma Soul Bell held supreme authority in the Brahma Monarch God Realm. This also meant that the Brahma Monarch God Realm had never needed to worry about the defiance or rebellion of any of their Brahma gods or Brahma kings. At least in the eastern divine region, this was something that definitely could not be achieved by the other three king realms. Other than that, the Brahma Soul Bell could also only be used by someone who had inherited the Brahma divine power. Thus, even if it fell into the hands of an outsider, they did not need to be too worried. As a result, when the Brahma Soul Bell appeared, even amidst their shock, the gathered Brahma kings all felt a deep reverence. Because it could easily suppress or strip them of all the exalted divine power that they currently possessed, and stripping them of this divine power was equivalent to stripping them of everything. Furthermore, even though they were Brahma kings, they had not seen the Brahma Soul Bell in more than 10,000 years. Ying'er, take the Brahma Soul Bell? Qianye Ying'er's hand trembled, but his movements were incomparably hard and resolute. They lacked any hesitation whatsoever. From this day forward, you are our Brahma Monarch God Realm's new emperor. Every single word that proceeded from Qianye Ying'er's mouth resounded like a clap of thunder. All of the present Brahma kings were greatly astonished, and even those who had been afflicted by the sky poison had leapt to their feet in shock. Once a person took the Brahma Soul Bell, even if they did not become a god emperor, they would already be holding the lifeline of the entire Brahma Monarch God Realm in their hands. However, Qianye Ying'er did not extend her hand to take it. Instead, she said coldly, "Royal Father, aren't you being too anxious? Why are you so convinced that you will die? Weren't you also very convinced that Xia Qingyue would not dare let you die?" He, Qianye Ying'er gave a dry chuckle. "It has nothing to do with that. You were going to be the next Brahma Heaven God Emperor anyway, and this was something that was decided many, many years ago. Right now, I am merely bringing it forward a little. What's wrong? Once you take the Brahma Soul Bell and become the new Brahma Heaven God Emperor, you will hold the entire Brahma Monarch God Realm in your hands. Don't tell me that you're still hesitating." Just as Qianye Ying'er's voice fell, a golden image flashed by and the Brahma Soul Bell had already appeared in Qianye Ying'er's hand. However, this action, an action that could not be any more ordinary, caused all the Brahma kings to feel as if their souls had just been smashed by a sledgehammer. If the Brahma Soul Bell changed its owner, it also meant that the rulership of the Brahma Monarch God Realm would change as well. As she held up the Brahma Soul Bell in her hand and basked in its endlessly mysterious golden light, Qianye Ying'er's golden eyes faintly narrowed as she spoke in a serene voice. "This is something that I've always dreamed of obtaining. So what reason would I have to reject it? HMPH, I thank Royal Father for granting my wish." It seemed as if Qianye Ying'er was very satisfied with how Qianye Ying'er looked right now, as a hint of joy finally appeared on his face. "Very good. As expected, you did not let me down. You have not wasted the effort I have poured into you and the hopes that I have placed on you all of these years. As such, I can be completely at ease now." At ease? Qianye Ying'er put away the Brahma Soul Bell, the corner of her lips hooking upwards as she said, "It's far too early for you to be at ease. Transferring the position of God Emperor is a big affair. Not only must we do it properly, it must also be done in a way that is befitting of our stature. If not, won't I immediately lose face the very moment I become a God Emperor?" Qianye Ying'er. "So, if you die, then I will inherit the position of God Emperor like I rightfully should. And if you live, you will transfer the position of God Emperor to me in a right and proper manner and retire as a grand God Emperor. As for today, just forget it. I can't afford for this to be done in such a shabby manner." Qianye Ying'er's eyes faintly narrowed before he started to smile. "Good, very good. Right now, the Brahma Soul Bell is in your hands, so your words are law. At least in the Brahma Monarch God realm, no one will dare to defy you in the slightest. However, there is one thing that you must remember. No matter whether I live or die in the end, you must never forget the humiliation we have suffered this day. HMPH. You didn't even need to say it, Qianye Ying'er said coldly. Also, you're wrong on one point, extremely wrong, Qianye Fanchen yelled in a hoarse voice. If Xia Qingyue backs down in the end and gets Yuan Qi to purge the poison in my body, then from now onwards, I won't be any grand god emperor. I will only be a Brahma god that will serve at your beck and call. The king of our Brahma monarch god realm does not require any such thing as a grand god emperor, nor does she require any such thing as a father, do you understand? Fine. Qianye Ying'er gave a small nod of her head. If Xia Qingyue backs down in the end and gets Yuan Qi to purge the poison in my body. This was the implication behind those words. Qianye Fanchen had already determined one thing. If Xia Qingyue did not come and purge the poison in his body, he would definitely die. He was the one who was afflicted by the poison and devilish energy, so he would naturally be the person who was most clear about the state of his body. If I die, Qianye Fanchen said in a low voice as he slowly closed his eyes, bury me together with your mother. Those words provoked a mocking laugh from Qianye Ying'er. Ha, what a joke. Are you even worthy of that? Qianye Fanchen was racked with pain and his lips faintly trembled. He was not able to say anything else for a long period of time. Without sparing Qianye Fanchen, who was currently being plagued by both deadly poison and devilish energy. Another glance, Qianye Ying'er, who had received the Brahma Soul Bell and who now held the core lifeline of the Brahma Monarch God realm in her hands, coldly turned around. She left just like that in front of the shocked and trembling gazes of the gathered Brahma kings, as if she was completely unconcerned about Qianye Fanchen's fate. God Emperor, what exactly are you? The first Brahma king shook his head heavily. Shock and fear plagued his heart, but what really filled his heart was a deep confusion. You don't need to say another word. Qianye Fanchen's voice was growing even more hoarse and weak, yet it was still extremely hard and resolute, leaving no room for negotiation. Even if this king is truly going to die, we must still never bend our heads to the moon god realm, never. The god emperor is absolutely right. How can we so easily bow our heads to the moon god realm? The first Brahma king's hands were tightly balled into fists, and a malicious aura surged from every part of his body. However, since this matter concerns the god emperor's life, neither can we simply keep waiting like this. I will now personally lead all the Brahma kings to the moon god realm and send a sound transmission to the other king realms so that we can pressure the moon god realm together. If the moon god realm isn't willing to submit, then we will forcefully attack and force her to submit. Ha, how naive, Qianye Fanchen said with a twisted cold laugh. Back when Yue Wuya was still around, the moon god realm would definitely not dare to provoke us in the slightest. But why does she, Xia Qingyue, dare to do so? All of us know that Xia Qingyue caused this incident. But that idea of forming a so-called alliance with the other king realms to pressure the moon god realm is a complete joke, because the devilish energy in my body came from the evil infant, and the poison in my body came from the sky poison pearl. What does any of this have to do with the moon god realm? The first Brahma king was fiercely stunned by those words. If we try to forcefully pressure the moon god realm, we will be acting without any justification whatsoever. Furthermore, given Xia Qingyue's cunning, she will definitely use this opportunity to borrow the eternal heaven god realm's power using proper channels to counterattack. Moreover, Qianye Fanchen violently gasped for breath at this moment. The poison that I am afflicted with is the sky poison pearl's poison. The only ones that can purge this poison are the sky poison pearl and Yuan Qi, but the heaven-smiting devil emperor is the one standing behind Yuan Qi. And that is also the biggest reason why Xia Qingyue dared to be so bold. And right now, Yuan Qi is in the moon god realm. If we dare to compel them with force and launch a strong attack on the moon god realm, then it would involve Yuan Qi's safety and put his life at risk. So do you think that the heaven-smiting devil emperor will simply sit on the sidelines and watch if that happens? The first Brahma king felt as if ice water had been poured over his entire body as a chill pervaded his heart and soul. He stood there in a daze for a long time, and the profound energy and malice in his heart that had just surged up began to disperse like a tide. He bowed his head and barked out a miserable laugh before he said in a powerless voice, "Could it be that the only route left to us is to bow our heads and beg? Bow our heads and beg." Ha, Qianye Fanchen barked out a cold laugh. You are never to bring up those 5 words ever again." Just as he finished speaking, the aura behind him immediately grew chaotic. He swiftly focused and suppressed it. However, at the moment his eyes were about to close, an incomparably gloomy and strange light flashed in the depths of his eyes. The borders of Brahma Heaven City, in an exceptionally quiet and secluded forest. A green stone tablet was erected in the center of this secluded forest, as if it was being protected by all of the water and wood spirits in this place. A golden figure flashed into existence in front of that tablet. At this moment, there was no aura radiating from her body, and she was bereft of all of her sinister coldness and might. After that, she slowly sank to her knees in front of the stone tablet. She lifted up both hands, and the Brahma Soul Bell, which shone with a soul-scorching golden light, lay in them. Her delicate head drooped, and her voice was as faint as smoke and mist. "Mother, do you see this? It's the Brahma Soul Bell. It has fallen into Ying'er's hands now. This was Ying'er's ambition all those years ago and the promise that I made to you. At that time, you would always laugh and say that Ying'er was being silly, but right now, Ying'er has already made everything a reality. You can definitely see it, right?" The only thing that replied to her was a light breeze. "Mother, why won't you answer me? Why can't I feel any of your joy? Did you also sense it?" She gently spoke to the tablet as she slowly cradled the Brahma Soul Bell in her hands. "I have worked for my entire life to obtain it, and in order to obtain it, I did not hesitate to do anything. But why, now that it's finally fallen into my hands, do I not feel the slightest bit of joy? Could it be that all of my hard work, everything I have done over the years, was not actually because of it? Mother, after you departed to heaven, you were posthumously conferred the title of God Empress, and you were the last and only God Empress he had. He personally killed that wicked woman that harmed you and stripped her of all of her titles. Every trace of her was erased, even her name. I used to hate him so much, yet I am no longer able to hate or resent him anymore. Over the years, he has treated me differently from all of his other children. He said that no matter what happens to me in the future, even if I sink into mediocrity, I will still be the future king of the Brahma monarch God realm, its only king, because I am the only child begotten by him and his God Empress. He is a ruthless person, and he has taught me countless times to be a ruthless person as well. He even taught me to use or abandon him without any hesitation if it was necessary. However, over all these years, no matter how cruel, fierce, or stubborn he was, I was the only person that he never treated that way. Today, he even handed over the Brahma Soul Bell to me just like that, without any hesitation whatsoever. Qianye Ying'er closed her eyes as she said in a very soft voice, "Mother, you tell me, is the answer in my heart really true? Back then, all of my hard work was so that you would no longer be despised or bullied. But after you left, all of my hard work was actually so that I would live up to all the effort that he had invested in me and all the hopes that he had placed on me. How laughable. This is simply too ridiculous, too ridiculous. How could this possibly be true? How could it possibly be true?" As she let out those mournful and cold laughs, the Brahma Soul Bell in her hands emitted a soft, soul-piercing sound. She knelt in this place and remained motionless for a very long time, like a soulless ice sculpture. After an hour had passed, she finally slowly got to her feet. She turned her gaze towards the northwest as she softly muttered in a low and cold voice, "Xia Qingyue, you win." Hall, a small and withered old man dressed in a gray robe, bowed before Qianye Ying'er. He said with a hoarse voice that was difficult to understand, "Miss, what instructions do you have for this old servant?" "Uncle Gu." When Qianye Ying'er talked with Gu Zhu in the past, her back or side was always facing him. But she faced him directly today. "You're my servant and also my teacher. Other than royal father, you're the person who is closest to me and the only one I trust in this world." Qianye Ying'er's words caused Gu Zhu's aura to tremble slightly. "It looks like Miss has a great task for me today. Even if this old servant has to die 10,000 times, Miss just needs to say the word and this old servant will do it." Qianye Ying'er stretched out her hand, and a brilliant golden light formed on her fingertips, which was accompanied by a gentle ringing sound. That extremely strange aura caused Gu Zhu to look up. "Brahma Soul Bell? The God Emperor actually bestowed the Brahma Soul Bell to Miss. Haha, this is great. Congratulations, Miss, on attaining your lifelong wish earlier than expected." Gu Zhu's peaceful voice contained faint joy and gladness. But what Qianye Ying'er did next caused Gu Zhu's deep and hooded old eyes to bulge violently. Qianye Ying'er flicked a delicate finger, and the Brahma Soul Bell instantly left her hand and flew towards Gu Zhu. Gu Zhu's withered body blurred. Not only did he not touch the Brahma Soul Bell, he even flashed to a spot 30-odd meters away in a single instant, allowing the core divine artifact of the Brahma monarch god realm to land on the ground. When it landed on the ground, it emitted a gentle ring that caused one's heart to vibrate. "Miss, you!" Gu Zhu was unbelievably shocked and utterly puzzled by Qianye Ying'er's actions. Qianye Ying'er did not take back the Brahma Soul Bell that had landed on the ground. Instead, she turned her gaze and calmly said, "Uncle Gu, I am now handing the Brahma Soul Bell to you. I will have to trouble you to return it to Royal Father in 6 hours, remember. It must be after 6 hours. Within this time period, you must not let anyone know that it is with you." "This, you must not." Gu Zhu shook his head and did not take a single step nearer. "The Brahma Soul Bell must only ever be in the hands of a Brahma Heaven God Emperor. How can you allow an outsider to touch it?" "I have my own reasons for doing this," Qianye Ying'er said. "Uncle Gu, you don't possess any Brahma divine power, so you will not be able to use the Brahma Soul Bell. Moreover, you have been at my side for so many years and are my most trusted person. Another more ironic reason is that the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark that Royal Father planted on you back then still exists inside your body. So you are the one person who will never be able to go against his wishes, and thus, I have no worries whatsoever. Also, this is an order." The air solidified for a long while before Gu Zhu finally sighed. He stepped forward and stretched out a withered hand from under his gray robe. An invisible, profound energy lifted up the Brahma Soul Bell before he stored it into the pocket of space he carried around with him. During the entire process, the Brahma Soul Bell had not come into contact with his body. "Miss, may this old servant know the reason for this?" Gu Zhu asked. In the past, if Qianye Ying'er did not explain, he would have never asked. "You will know soon enough." Qianye Ying'er did not explain anything as she pushed her palms forward once again. "All of these Brahma monarch secret texts and the profound tools that Royal Father bestowed on me back then, please safeguard them for now. Before I retrieve them from you again, you must not allow them to be damaged in the slightest." Gu Zhu accepted his orders without saying anything. "This is the Void Illusion Stone that Royal Father bestowed on me back then. Keep it with you for the time being as well." However, Gu Zhu did not take the item this time as he said, "Miss, no matter what you are preparing to do, your safety comes first. With Miss abilities, you have nothing to fear in this world. But if you don't keep this Void Illusion Stone, this old servant will not be at ease." "All right," Qianye Ying'er said after thinking about it for a moment. She stored the Void Illusion Stone away before taking out a grayish-white stone slab. This slab was smooth in shape, but it had no aura to speak of and could not even be counted as a low-grade spirit stone. It appeared to be a completely ordinary stone, holes of different sizes evenly dotted across its surface. She silently looked at it without saying a single word for a long time. The #1 goddess in the eastern region was holding an ordinary piece of stone that did not radiate any spiritual strength in her hands, and this scene was unspeakably incongruous. "Does Miss also want to leave this remnant with this old servant?" Gu Zhu asked. The light in Qianye Ying'er's eyes fluctuated for a while, but in the end, she did not leave it with Gu Zhu. Instead, she slowly put the stone slab away. At this moment, her expression suddenly changed subtly as her tone became exceptionally icy. "Uncle Gu, get ready. I need you to imprison a portion of my memory. This, no matter what reasons you have. You must not do it." Gu Zhu shook his head slowly. "If anything goes wrong at all during this process, Mrs. Soul may be severely damaged, and that portion of your memories might even disappear completely. I have already made up my mind. There is no need to say anything else." Qianye Ying'er was not only cruel towards others, she was also cruel towards herself. "Listen carefully to the words that I'm about to say and remember them well. You must not miss out or forget a single word that I'm about to say." Moon God Realm, the God Emperor's bedchambers. Yuan Qi had been silently thinking this entire time. He simply had too many things to think about recently. After an indeterminate amount of time had passed, the bedchamber doors finally swung open, and Xia Qingyue silently strode in and stood in front of Yuan Qi. Instantly, it was as if a bright moon had risen inside this cold and desolate bedchamber as every corner of the room started to glow brightly. Yuan Qi opened his eyes and stretched his body. He muttered in a dissatisfied voice, "What have you been doing all this time? Even though I am no longer your husband, I'm still an honored guest. How can you just throw me here and disregard me?" Xia Qingyue cast a sideways glance at him and said, "Don't you have Yao Yue to accompany you? With a beauty like Yao Yue by your side, you actually feel bored." And it seems like you did not make a move on her. This does not seem to fit your nature at all. Ha ha ha, Yuan-Chi laughed while gritting his teeth. She's a moon god. What kind of move can I even make on her? You don't dare because she is a moon god. Xia Qingyue smiled half-heartedly. Is there really any woman that you don't dare to touch in this universe? Xia Qingyue had flippantly said that to irritate him, but Yuan-Chi could not help but feel guilty when he heard that. He curled his lips. You're the moon god emperor now. What's more, little sister Yao Yue is still present. Don't say things that will ruin the prestige of a god emperor, Yao Yue. Also, what have you been up to? Is there news from the Brahma monarch god realm? I sure hope that our efforts were not in vain, Yuan-Chi said. We have just received an important guest, Xia Qingyue replied nonchalantly. An important guest? Given Xia Qingyue's status, there were very few people in this universe that she would use the two words important guest to describe. You will find out soon enough. Xia Qingyue turned to the side and said, As for the Brahma monarch god realm, our plan is proceeding smoothly, and the results are even better than our best-case scenario. It looks like and even you have underestimated the frightening strength of the sky poison pearl's poison. I see. Yuan-Chi calculated how much time had passed since the poison had first flared up and frowned slightly. One will only be able to survive for about 40 hours when poisoned with the sky poison pearl, and right now, almost 32 hours have passed. There's no need to worry. After all, panic, fear, hesitation, breaking down, coming to a decision, and even rushing here from the Brahma monarch god realm, all of these things require time, Xia Qingyue said as her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. But it's about time. It seems like you have a lot of confidence. Yuan-Chi looked at her. If we succeed, how are you going to take your revenge on Qianye now that you have this chance? You will know when the time comes. Xia Qingyue showed an indifferent expression. In fact, not a single expression of happiness could be seen even though victory had already been secured. This time, I totally relied on your power. The potency of the sky poison pearl's poison, the interference of the evil infant's devilish energy, the backing of the heaven-smiting devil emperor. All of these things came from you. Therefore, when we have succeeded, I will also give you enough benefits from this. Don't be so quick to reject me, Xia Qingyue interjected as she unhurriedly said. I'm certain that you will be very pleased with it. Yuan-Chi thought about it for a while before leisurely replying, Forget it, I'll leave it up to you. You have suddenly become so rigid and tough that I would not be able to refuse it even if I didn't want it anyways. Compared to that, I would rather you tell me something else. Oh, where is she? Yuan-Chi's expression darkened, his tone becoming soft and distant. Others would not be able to know, but you should at least know a little, right? Xia Qingyue knew who he was asking about. Before he had even asked, Xia Qingyue could see far too many colors she had never seen before in his eyes. Even his words carried a slight tremble that maybe even he himself did not sense. To Yuan-Chi's complete and utter disappointment, Xia Qingyue gently shook her head. She is the evil infant. Even more than that, she is the evil infant that the heavenly slaughter star god turned into, Xia Qingyue said. The heavenly slaughter star god's ability to run and hide is second to none in this world. Now that she has the evil infant's power, no one in this world will be able to find her if she does not want to be found. Yuan-Chi let out a light sigh. The only thing we can be certain about is her location, the god realm of absolute beginning. Xia Qingyue's crescent brows furrowed unintentionally after mentioning that place. It was where she and Yuan-Chi were forced into a dead end by Qianye Ying'er back then. If the heavenly slaughter star god and heavenly wolf star god had not dropped from the sky that day, Yuan-Chi and she would not be alive today. That is the only place where there have been any traces of her. Even though there was a period of time where we suspected those traces found in the god realm of absolute beginning had been deliberately made by her to create a facade. But everything that has been found in regards to the evil infant still points to the god realm of absolute beginning. At the same time, it's also truly the place that is most suited to her. God realm of absolute beginning? Yuan-Chi softly muttered to himself. After that, he said, So that also means she has not made a single appearance during all these years. Correct, Xia Qingyue said. Given her display of terrifying strength back then, the god realm would have been in utter chaos if she wanted to terrorize it. My foster father, who faced off against the evil infant back then, told me before passing away that even the dragon monarch would not be the evil infant's match. It would require the strength of an entire region to exterminate her. Moreover, given her terrifying strength, it would not be an exaggeration to say that it would require the power of all three divine regions combined. But what is truly surprising is that she has not made a single appearance after what happened that year. Could it be because the power of the evil infant is recovering too slowly, or could it be for other reasons? God, realm of absolute beginning, God, realm of absolute beginning. Qianye continuously muttered to himself. It was as if he had not listened to what Xia Qingyue had said, and his gaze gradually started to harden. All right, after I leave this place, I will make a trip to the God realm of absolute beginning. How naive, Xia Qingyue said coldly. Going there is equivalent to seeking death given your current strength. Moreover, the God realm of absolute beginning is enormous, beyond what you can even imagine. Rumor has it that the world of the God realm of absolute beginning is even bigger than the entire primal chaos, and it can even be seen as another primal chaos. In such an enormous world, how will you be able to find her when even the three divine regions were left at a complete loss? I can do it! Contrary to Xia Qingyue's expectations, not only Qianye was not disappointed. His gaze had become even more resolute as he said, Others won't be able to find her, but I will definitely be able to. Xia Qingyue glanced at him thoughtfully before softly speaking. From the looks of it, there is something delicate about your relationship with her that others can't understand. If you are truly able to find her, then it would be a great thing for you. Compared to the protective talisman that I found for you, she would be the most reliable safety net for you in this entire universe. After all, though you can depend on the Devil Emperor, you cannot control her. But she would do anything for your sake. Also, with the return of the Devil Emperor and the impending return of the Devil Gods, how is this not a great turning point for her, someone who is not tolerated by all of creation? Xia Qingyue's tone was especially calm. Not a single change in her mood or emotions could be sensed as she discussed this matter with an incomparable apathy. Qianye looked at her, furrowed his brows, and suddenly asked, You don't hate her. Hate her? Xia Qingyue asked. Why should I hate her? After all, she killed Yue Wuya, your foster father who you owe a great debt of gratitude to, Qianye said with complicated emotions. Xia Qingyue's bright pupils shone like stars and replied unenthusiastically. Back then, foster father mistakenly thought that my mother was killed by the star god realm. In his anger, he drove Jasmine's birth mother to her death and drove her to become the heavenly slaughter star god. It's only right and proper for her to seek revenge for her mother's death. So it's only right for my foster father to die at her hands. Now that the hatred and revenge between both sides have been settled, on what basis should I hate her? Qianye stood there and did not speak for a long while. Do you think that I'm being overly rational? She asked suddenly. No, Qianye shook his head. You are being so rational that it is a little frightening. Xia Qingyue coldly smiled at Qianye's evaluation of her. I'll say it once more. The current me is not only Xia Qingyue, but also the Moon God Emperor. At this moment, moonlight flashed in front of Xia Qingyue, and a young maiden in blue bowed deeply. Master, the Brahma monarch goddess seeks an audience. Qianye abruptly turned towards her. How many? Xia Qingyue asked, without any surprise on her face. This servant has inspected her surroundings thoroughly, and she can confirm that Qianye Ying'er is the only one who came. No profound arcs or people are following her. Excellent. Xia Qingyue nodded once before saying, Escort her to the sacred hall and bring her to me yourself, Lion Yue. You don't need to hide her presence, but don't try to attract too much attention either. Understood. Lion Yue vanished after receiving her orders. It looks like everything is going exactly as you wish, said Qianye with a complicated look. The person who came wasn't Qianye Fanchen or the Brahma Kings after all. It was Qianye Ying'er and Qianye Ying'er alone. Xia Qingyue's prediction had been perfectly accurate. Is there anywhere you need me? He asked. But of course. Xia Qingyue stretched a hand and wrapped an invisible wisp of profound energy around his arm. You are the lead of this show. Without you, this wouldn't be interesting in the slightest. Come with me. Xia Qingyue brought Qianye directly into the sacred hall. Waves of profound energy suddenly washed over him and caused him to suffocate for a split second. When Qianye's eyes cleared up, he was surprised to find dozens of colorful, defensive, profound formations littered across the grounds of the sacred hall. He asked, were these profound formations set up just now? Naturally, Xia Qingyue said. I'm the one who arranged them myself. Their reason for being here is to safeguard your life. Her figure blurred for a moment, and both of them appeared at the center of the profound formations an instant later. She looked at Qianye and instructed seriously. Remember, you're not allowed to take half a step out of this profound formation. You know full well just how devious Qianye Ying'er is, and you must be on your guard at all times. In the off chance that she tries to attack, these profound formations will become active and protect you from danger. I understand, replied Yuan-Chi while sneaking a glance at Xia Qingyue's cheek. It looked like she had made a lot of preparations during the day she was gone. The reason she told Lion Yue to bring Qianye Ying'er over after 15 minutes was so that she could bring him into these profound formations first. Qingyu, you can tell me what you're planning to do with her now, right? Yuan-Chi asked. She must have made up her mind before she brought him to the moon god realm. No, it must have been even earlier than that. Instead of answering him directly, Xia Qingyue asked, in your opinion, what do you think is the one thing Qianye Ying'er cannot lose besides her life? Yuan-Chi thought for a moment before answering. I don't know her well, but from what I've seen and heard, she's completely different from the average woman. She has an unnatural obsession for the profound way, and everything she does is tied to the pursuit of power one way or another. To the average woman, love, pride, or appearance can sometimes be more important than their life, but her, if I'm not mistaken, the power she has spent her entire life chasing is the one thing she cannot lose besides her life. You're completely correct. Xia Qingyue looked outside of the hall with frigid eyes. If I force her to cripple herself first before backing off from that bottom line, then everything else above that bottom line, even if it was humiliation beyond her wildest dreams, would appear acceptable to her, don't you think? Yuan-Chi felt a passing chill as he stared at Xia Qingyue's back. It had only been a couple of years since their last meeting. Could a person really change so drastically in such a short time? Weren't the mind, nature, and habit the hardest things to change in a person? Speaking of which, Xianxia had once said something strange to him. She had told him that Xia Qingyue's heart of glazed glass was about to awaken. Could her change be related to that? Suddenly, Xia Qingyue shot him a sideways glance and repeated her instruction again. Remember, do not step out of the profound formations. I get it already, Yuan-Chi replied while curling his lips. Out of all the tones she used, this one was the one he hated the most. She almost sounded like her master just now. Xia Qingyue's figure blurred again, and this time she was standing at the center of the sacred hall. At the same time, a slender, golden figure finally appeared at the entrance. The dazzling soft armor covering her entire body was a symbol of her noble identity and the highlighter of the dreamiest body in the entire world. Master, the Brahma monarch goddess has arrived, Lion Yue said respectfully. Then she froze on the spot and didn't say anything until a long time later. The second Qianye Ying'er and Xia Qingyue's eyes had met each other. The space between and around them turned so solid that both Lion Yue and Yuan-Chi thought that time itself had come to a standstill. Guard outside the entrance and stand by for my orders, Xia Qingyue said. She didn't tell Lion Yue to leave, but she didn't tell her to protect Yuan-Chi either. Yes. Lion Yue accepted the order and moved outside. She never withdrew her aura, and the calm look on her face failed to conceal the tension she was really feeling at all. As Xia Qingyue's personal servants, they knew just how much their master hated Qianye Ying'er. Xia Qingyue, Moon God Emperor. Qianye Ying'er's gaze stopped on Yuan-Chi before returning to impale Xia Qingyue. I trust you have been well since we last met. As the owner of both the heart of glazed glass and the 9 profound, exquisite body, Xia Qingyue's talents were unique enough to make even Qianye Ying'er jealous. It was why she had drawn a huge amount of attention when she had made her first appearance at the ceremony of the Moon God realm. Just like Yuan-Chi, no one could predict the limits of her future. But it was supposed to be the future. Qianye Ying'er had never imagined that she would fall into Xia Qingyue's hands so quickly and easily. This king is well naturally, Xia Qingyue replied slowly, but you on the other hand don't look so well. What is your purpose for coming today? Heh, Xia Qingyue, Qianye Ying'er sneered. Although her face was covered up by a golden mask, every word she spoke was infused with bone-chilling iciness. I must say that the breadth of your courage and the lows you would stoop to has truly opened my eyes. Oh, Xia Qingyue's eyes twirled slightly without showing the slightest bit of emotion. This king is the Moon God Emperor. I would never stoop to despicable acts that would tarnish my reputation. On the other hand, did you seriously think you were worthy of fairness from me, Lady Goddess? Oh, right. There was a rumor saying that the Brahma monarch God Emperor was poisoned alongside his 8 Brahma kings. Apparently, the situation was bad enough that the great Brahma monarch God realm had to close itself off. But here you are, visiting the Moon God realm for fun instead of helping. Your reputation for heartlessness is truly well-deserved, Lady Goddess. I am very impressed. Impressed? Qianye Ying'er let out another sneer as her voice grew colder. The reason Yun Qi and you poisoned my father with the sky poison pearl is to force me to come here. You must be incredibly pleased inside seeing that everything has gone exactly as you wished. Oh, this king doesn't understand your meaning, Lady Goddess, Xia Qingyue said leisurely. It is regretful that the Brahma Heaven God Emperor has succumbed to poison, but how can you be sure that the sky poison is the reason? Have you or your retinues witnessed the might of the sky poison pearl with your own eyes before? In addition, this is the Brahma monarch God Emperor of all people, and Yun Qi is just a divine king. Not even a 3-year-old would believe that he could plant a deadly poison in the Brahma Heaven God Emperor, don't you think? Your words are truly hilarious today, Lady Goddess. Yun Qi. Xia Qingyue. Qianye Ying'er had come to Moon God realm with absolute determination in her mind, but Xia Qingyue still managed to infuriate her in just a couple of verbal exchanges. Cease your attempts to disturb my mind. I wouldn't be here if I'd wished to escape unscathed. She looked up slightly and declared mercilessly, I, Qianye Ying'er, admit my defeat. Now tell me your condition. Very good. Xia Qingyue didn't move or act like a victor in the slightest, even though the Lady Goddess herself had admitted defeat. She looked so calm it was almost scary. This king's condition is very simple. All you need to do is to ruin your own power. Heh. But Xia Qingyue's demand was met with a scornful sneer. Xia Qingyue, you should know that I would never agree to that demand. You don't have to play such a childish game in front of me. I'm sure that you, the Moon God Emperor, have far more to be afraid of from a desperate Brahma monarch God realm than the other way around. So just tell me your condition and stop wasting both of our time and patience. Yun Qi frowned abruptly when he heard this. He wasn't expecting Qianye Ying'er to see through Xia Qingyue's ploy immediately. She even used this opportunity to seize the upper hand of the negotiation away from Xia Qingyue. Both of these women are scary. Very good, it's so much easier to speak with a smart person. Xia Qingyue shifted her feet slightly so she was able to face Qianye Ying'er and shoot Yun Qi a glance at the same time. Then she asked, if this king may ask, what do you think the life of your father, strongest God Emperor of the Eastern Divine Region, the lives of 8 Brahma kings, and the future of the Brahma monarch God realm are worth? I think you're missing something. Qianye Ying'er shot right back. You're missing the part where we, the Brahma monarch God realm, would do everything in our power to destroy the Moon God realm if we were to lose everything you say. What a joke, retorted Xia Qingyue with an indifferent smile. The Brahma monarch God realm lost 2 Brahma kings during the evil infant disaster, and 3 Brahma gods during the return of the devil emperor. Today, the Brahma Heaven God Emperor and all 8 Brahma kings have even succumbed to a deadly poison. If they are not rescued in time, the Brahma monarch God realm would decline from 1 God Emperor and 17 Brahma kings to just 7 Brahma kings only. You think a realm that weak can threaten the Moon God realm in any way? The Brahma monarch God realm's well of power and hidden cards are far deeper than you can ever imagine. It would be child's play to destroy the Moon God realm even if we are only 7 Brahma kings strong, Qianye Ying'er said with a sneer. Xia Qingyue half smiled at her and replied, and how do you know the Moon God realm doesn't have a well of power as deep as your own? It is true that both of our realms would lose in a battle like this, but can you say for sure that the Moon God realm will fall, and a weakened Brahma monarch God realm with only 7 Brahma kings left will be the one to survive until the end? Qianye Ying'er. Also, you haven't forgotten about the most important thing in the primal chaos right now, have you? Xia Qingyue stared at Qianye Ying'er quietly. The master of the sky poison pearl is Yun Qi, and the person supporting Yun Qi is the heaven-smiting devil emperor herself. You know that the 2 of us were once husband and wife. If this king finds a way to bring the heaven-smiting devil emperor into this through Yun Qi, are you sure that the Pyrrhic victory in your head will happen? Buzz. The space behind Qianye Ying'er vibrated for a moment. The fact that she had lost control of her profound energy meant that her mind had fallen into chaos. A tragic curl appeared on Qianye Ying'er's lips. I didn't lose to you, Xia Qingyue. I lost to the sky poison pearl, the heaven-smiting devil emperor, and myself. That is all, don't you ever forget that. Xia Qingyue only smiled coolly in response. Now speak your condition. Qianye Ying'er's chest heaved and shuddered slightly beneath the wrappings of her golden armor. I don't wish to hear any more nonsense from you. The short verbal exchange had ended with Qianye Ying'er's complete defeat. Or rather, she had lost from the moment she entered the Moon God realm. Xia Qingyue's biggest reliance had never been the sky poison pearl. It was the heaven-smiting devil emperor, even though the woman herself had no idea, probably. It's very simple. Xia Qingyu stopped wasting her breath as Qianye Ying'er demanded and said evenly, "This king will leave your life and your profound strength alone on one condition." She looked towards Yunqi and said, "You'll allow Yunqi to plant a 3,000-year slave imprint inside your soul." Xia Qingyu's declaration shocked Yunqi so much that he actually staggered within the profound formations. At the entrance, Lion Yue also shuddered as her eyes turned wide with shock. Slave imprint. She wants to plant a slave imprint inside the Brahma monarch goddess? A slave imprint was without a doubt one of the cruelest mental imprints in the world. A person who was implanted with a slave imprint would obey any order given by the implanter. Even if the order was to kill themselves immediately, they wouldn't be able to summon a shred of willpower to rebel against the order. They would execute it without any hesitation. Even after the implanter was dead, the person with the slave mark would still sustain their master's will and serve loyally unto their death. In short, those who were implanted with slave imprints would become the implanter's most loyal servants. Moreover, it was almost impossible to remove through external force. The ruthlessness of slave imprints was why it was strictly forbidden even among the lower realms. Not even the emperor of a nation or the leader of a sect was allowed to implant a slave imprint in their lowliest servant. Yunqi had heard of slave imprints a long time ago, but he had only witnessed it in action once in his whole life after the little demon empress had reacquired her political power and threatened her enemies with utter annihilation and eternal infamy. She had implanted a slave imprint in every patriarch and duke who had rebelled against her, turning them all into her most loyal dogs. If anyone dared to say anything bad against her or disobey her, they would itch to tear this person apart with their bare teeth. Naturally, a cruel mental imprint like this normally had an incredibly low chance of success. This was especially true after a person had achieved the divine way or reached divine soul realm. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was almost, if not completely, impossible. Even if the target divine way profound practitioner was close to death or unconscious, any bit of mental resistance would shrug off even a divine master's attempt to implant a soul imprint. Therefore, the only possibility for the implantation of a slave imprint to succeed was for the target to withdraw all thoughts of resistance, or even embrace it willingly. As for the idea of implanting a slave imprint inside the Brahma monarch goddess, it must be the most laughable and most ridiculous thing ever said in the entire eastern divine region. And yet it had come out of Xia Qingyu's mouth in a tone that would tolerate no rebuke. Qianye Ying'er was the daughter of Qianye Fanchen, the future Brahma heaven god emperor, and the #1 lady goddess in the entire world. Forget the sheer impossibility of implanting a slave imprint in her to make her serve a master as slave for 3,000 years straight. No one had even considered such an audacious plan. Yunqi was shocked. Lion Yue was shocked. But Qianye Ying'er didn't look nearly as shaken as she should have been. A smile that was both sorrowful and ridiculing at once sprung to her lips. "As I thought, that is all the likes of you can think of, Xia Qingyu. Considering the evils you've done to me and Yunqi, and the fact this slave imprint comes with the price of saving your father and the 8 Brahma kings, this king believes you got off too easy, Brahma monarch goddess." Xia Qingyu's eyes was completely unreadable. "Can you afford to turn this down?" Behind her mask, Qianye Ying'er narrowed her eyes bit by bit before she finally nodded. "Very well." Qianye Ying'er's answer caused Yunqi's eyes to widen to their fullest. He couldn't believe his eyes or his ears at all. Outside the hall, Lion Yue had also turned around with shock and disbelief riddled across her face as well. "I knew this would be the outcome. I'd already resigned myself to my fate since the moment I came here," Qianye Ying'er said slowly and calmly. The only thing that betrayed her true emotions was her heavy breathing. "I agree to become Yunqi's temporary slave, but the eternal heaven god emperor must bear witness to all this." Yunqi was completely stunned when the line, "I agree to become Yunqi's temporary slave," came out of Qianye Ying'er's mouth. It was the most ridiculous and impossible thing to accomplish in the world, but Qianye Ying'er of all people had actually agreed to it, and Xia Qingyu was sure that she would agree to it from the beginning. WTF. It was obvious that Xia Qingyu's study of Qianye Ying'er had far exceeded her elaboration to him earlier. Besides Qianye Ying'er herself and her father, Xia Qingyu might be the third person to know her better than anyone else in the world. And the catalyst behind all this was bone-deep hatred. "As you wish." Xia Qingyu looked towards the entrance and said, "Lion Yue, please bring the eternal heaven god emperor over." "Yes." Lion Yue went away quickly after receiving her orders. Qianye Ying'er raised her eyebrows slightly before saying, "It takes 20 hours at least to make it to and from the eternal heaven god realm, not to mention that the eternal heaven god emperor is often busy. You better keep my father safe in the meantime, or else—" "You seem to be overthinking things, Brahma monarch goddess," Xia Qingyue interrupted indifferently. At the same time, Lion Yue returned with a powerful and familiar figure by her side. Qianye Ying'er abruptly turned around and stared at the old man walking into the sacred hall slowly with a complicated expression on his face. It was none other than the eternal heaven god emperor himself, Yuan-Chi. So he's the honored guest Qingyue mentioned earlier. Qingyue must have predicted that Qianye Ying'er would request the eternal heaven god emperor as witness. That was why she had invited him to the moon god realm beforehand. Xia Qingyue turned around and bowed slightly. "Apologies for the lack of reception, eternal heaven god emperor. As you may have realized, this situation is somewhat special." Qianye Ying'er looked up slowly while gritting her teeth. "I underestimated you, Xia Qingyue. There is no better witness than the eternal heaven god emperor in the entire world, which is why this king invited him to the moon god realm ahead of time. Now then, Brahma monarch goddess, is there any other request you'd like to make?" "Sigh." The eternal heaven god emperor sighed quietly. "Moon god emperor, is this why you've invited me over?" "That's right." Xia Qingyue nodded. She could hear the disappointment and reproach in his tone, but she didn't appear flustered by them in the slightest. "You've heard all our conversation through the sound transmission profound formation. The slave imprint is something both this king and the lady goddess have agreed upon. This king would be infinitely grateful if you would bear witness to this implantation ceremony later." Qianye Ying'er, "Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous," said the eternal heaven god emperor while shaking his head, his amiable voice sounding slightly angry. Although both he and Xia Qingyue were god emperors, he absolutely had the seniority to scold her like a junior. "Moon god emperor, this old one doesn't know the full truth behind your grudge with the lady goddess, but I wasn't completely blind to it either. Still, your revenge should never result in a taboo like the slave imprint. This cruel imprint is forbidden even to the likes of mere mortals, much less to god emperors and lady goddesses." It was only natural for the eternal heaven god emperor to react the way he did. Slave imprints were so cruel that it was considered utterly inhumane and unacceptable to the world. So of course the eternal heaven god emperor couldn't allow this to happen. But Xia Qingyue showed no fear despite his reprimand. Instead, she asked in a cool tone, "In that case, which one do you think is worse? A slave imprint or the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark, eternal heaven god emperor? Which one do you think is more unacceptable and unforgivable?" The eternal heaven god emperor was just about to give an answer when he suddenly frowned, as if just realizing something. "What do you mean by that, moon god emperor?" Xia Qingyue said slowly. "A few years ago, Yuan-Chi was forced to escape to the dragon god realm and missed the eternal heaven divine realm as a result. You're probably aware that this has something to do with the Brahma monarch god realm, but did you know that it was because Yuan-Chi had been implanted with the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark by Qianye Ying'er's own hands?" The eternal heaven god emperor's mind went blank for a second. Then he came back to himself and shouted, "What did you say?" Qianye Ying'er looked away and coldly snorted in response. "Yuan-Chi took refuge in the dragon god realm not because he was forced to escape to that area. It was because the only person in the whole world who can remove the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark besides the implanter herself is dragon goddess Xianxia," Xia Qingyue said with cold eyes. At this point, Xia Qingyue's presence actually threatened to overwhelm the stunned eternal heaven god emperors. "You should know just how terrible and cruel the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark is, eternal heaven god emperor. After all, the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark is known to the god realm as the cruelest soul imprint of them all, not a slave imprint." Terribly shaken, the eternal heaven god emperor abruptly turned towards Qianye Ying'er. You really implanted a Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark in Yuan-Chi before?" Qianye Ying'er didn't give him any response. "Disgraceful!" The most mild-tempered god emperor in the world could no longer suppress his fury as red color crawled onto his face. How could you do this?" Back then, Qianye Ying'er had already figured out that Yuan-Chi possessed the inheritance of the heretic god. That was why she had driven Yuan-Chi and this king to a dead end and tried to force Yuan-Chi into revealing all of his secrets. To force him into giving her the heretic god's inheritance, she implanted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark inside of him. Forget that this imprint drops its victim into a bottomless purgatory, and makes them wish they were dead. You should understand what the power of the heretic god truly mean. Eternal Heaven God Emperor. If someone hadn't shown up and saved us back then, if the Dragon Queen Xianxia hadn't granted Qianye her favor and removed the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark inside him, Qianye would have succumbed to the torture already. What do you think would have happened when the heaven-smiting devil emperor came back? Even now, the fate of our lives and the god realm are still unknown. The eternal heaven god emperor's expression changed again. Qianye is the indisputable savior of the world, but Qianye Ying'er had implanted a soul imprint in him that was far worse than a slave imprint for her own greed, nearly causing the annihilation of the world as a result. Tell me, is this king wrong to return the favor with a slave imprint? The eternal heaven god emperor couldn't say anything against that. Even his initial anger and repulsion towards the slave imprint had been turned back against Qianye Ying'er tens of times stronger than before. The eternal heaven god emperor couldn't tolerate the slave imprint. Naturally, the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark was even more out of the question. Even worse than that was the fact that Qianye Ying'er had implanted it inside of Qianye, the world savior he had entrusted all of his hopes to. Xia Qingyue was right. If Xianxia hadn't removed the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark from Qianye, he would have succumbed to its torture and died already, thus wiping out the only hope to save the world. Cold sweat immediately covered the eternal heaven god emperor's body when he thought of that possibility. Even if Qianye Ying'er hadn't held her silence, the eternal heaven god emperor still wouldn't have doubted Xia Qingyue's words. After all, even he knew that Qianye Ying'er would stoop to that level if she knew that Qianye possessed the heretic god's inheritance. Moreover, Xia Qingyue continued, not only is making Qianye Ying'er Qianye's temporary slave the rightful price she should pay for her crimes, it is also a kind of protection for Qianye. This removes one of the people most likely to do him harm and turns her into one of his staunchest protectors. Surely you're aware just how powerful this enemy of Qianye is. The primal chaos is in danger right now, and the only one who can stop the devil gods from ravaging the world is Qianye. Even if there were no devil gods, you can imagine how the heaven-smiting devil emperor would react if an accident or a murderous plot were to befall him. Therefore, his safety is equivalent to the safety of the entire world. If Qianye Ying'er can act as his bodyguard, a protector who was implanted with a slave imprint, I dare say that she'd perform her job better than even we god emperors. Don't you think so as well, eternal heaven god emperor? The eternal heaven god emperor fell silent for a long time, but his gaze was different from before. At first, he had found the idea of a slave imprint extremely repulsive and disgusting. But now, as his gaze swam back and forth between Qianye and Qianye Ying'er, he found himself growing more and more tempted by the idea. Considering that Qianye Ying'er had planted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark in Qianye, enslavement by slave imprint was almost an unfairly light punishment. If by enslaving Qianye Ying'er, Qianye would lose a terrible enemy and gain a powerful, loyal protector instead. Normally, the eternal heaven god emperor would never have allowed something like a slave imprint to exist. But the reason Xia Qingyue gave him was simply too good to deny. Brahma monarch goddess, you're surprisingly accepting of this. In fact, you seem to have known that this would happen from the start, said the eternal heaven god emperor. The way he spoke and looked at Qianye Ying'er had changed slightly since the revelation. Qianye Ying'er sneered at him. Did I ever say I refuse to accept this? Are you sure you want to? Cut the nonsense, Qianye Ying'er interrupted him coldly. From the moment I arrived in the moon god realm, I already knew what the outcome would be. Just be our witness and keep your comments and unnecessary meddling to yourself. Qianye Ying'er didn't care to give face to the eternal heaven god emperor. In fact, she had always scorned him for his righteousness and impartialness. On the other hand, there was literally no one she trusted to become a witness other than him. No one except the eternal heaven god emperor himself could assure her that Xia Qingyue and Qianye wouldn't break their promise. Fine, instead of getting angry with Qianye Ying'er, the eternal heaven god emperor sighed softly before saying, "This old one despises the slave imprint, but just this once I will be the witness to its ceremony." He had never thought that the day he would bear witness to something like this would come. He definitely hadn't predicted the people who would be involved in the ceremony at least. Let alone mortals, not even divine masters or god emperors could imagine something like this happening. But it was the truth, and it was happening right in front of him. "You have my early thanks, eternal heaven god emperor." Xia Qingyue bowed slightly at the eternal heaven god emperor before staring at Qianye Ying'er. You may speak of your conditions now, but I advise you to think carefully before you speak. Don't forget that this king is the one who gets to decide whether your conditions are acceptable, not you. Qianye Ying'er coldly snorted in response, but she was no normal person. Most people thought it was better to die than to accept a slave imprint, but Qianye Ying'er was almost inhumanely calm despite her situation. Number 1, you must cure my father and the Brahma King's poison in at most 10 hours after the ceremony is complete. Agreed. Xia Qingyue accepted her first condition immediately. Yun Qi's mouth twitched once when he heard this. It because the sky poison would fade out swiftly on its own in at most 4 to 6 hours. 10 hours. Well, number 2, you are not allowed to harm me or my profound energy. Qianye Ying'er, not everyone is as despicable and unprincipled as you are, Xia Qingyue said with ridicule. This king has already given her word that she wouldn't harm you or your profound energy before, and she isn't one to break her promises. After all, you're required to spend the next couple thousand years as Yun Qi's most loyal servant and protector. It would be foolish to order you to commit suicide or cripple yourself. I trust no one except the eternal Heaven God Emperor, Qianye Ying'er said frigidly. The eternal Heaven God Emperor sighed quietly before starting. Moon God Emperor Yun Qi, you are not allowed to order the Brahma monarch goddess into self-mutilation or suicide while she's enslaved, unless it is an accident caused by external forces. Otherwise, you must protect her life and her profound energy until she completes her servitude. Do you have any objections? Thank you, Eternal Heaven God Emperor, Xia Qingyue said. This king agrees. Number 3, you're not allowed to make me do anything that harms the Brahma monarch god realm, Qianye Ying'er emphasized in a cold tone. This is my bottom line. All right. Again, Xia Qingyue had agreed to her condition without any hesitation. However, this condition doesn't apply if the Brahma monarch god realm is the one who attacks us first. I'm sure you understand, right? HMPH, Qianye Ying'er continued. Number 4. Xia Qingyue suddenly cut her off and said in an indifferent tone, you should know the saying, there is no fourth time, don't you? This king has already consented to your wish earlier and summoned the eternal Heaven God Emperor as witness. Then, she accepted all 3 of your conditions without any alteration. But you're still asking for more even after this king has given so much. Have you already forgotten who's the master and who's the beggar here? Before Qianye Ying'er could give a reply, Xia Qingyue suddenly changed her tune and continued softly. Never mind. You are the famous lady goddess of the eastern divine region, the proud and noble Qianye Ying'er who's revered by every man. This king supposes that it is fine for you to enjoy one more condition. Speak. Qianye Ying'er didn't shoot back a retort. Finally, for the second time of the day, she looked towards Yun Qi and uttered with barely suppressed murder, no one is allowed to sully my body. Yun Qi. This time, though, she got a disdainful snort from Xia Qingyue instead of agreement. The woman was even staring at her like she was a hilarious idiot. This king didn't realize that Qianye Ying'er, the woman who was feared by all, the enemy who had nearly driven her to the brink of death, had such a naive side to her. Qianye Ying'er. This king can promise that Yun Qi would never allow any man or woman to sully your body but himself. What would it matter even if this king did agree to your condition? You should know how men are, Qianye Ying'er. I can control his will and action, but do you really think I can control his bestial nature? Yun Qi. Did you seriously just say that, Qingyue? I didn't even touch a hair on you while we were married for dozens of years. Where is your conscience? Where is it? And let us not forget you are the famous lady goddess. Countless people would throw their lives away if they could catch even one glimpse of your countenance. And let us not even mention what the god emperor from the southern divine region would do to seize you. But now, you're telling me you want a man who has total power over you to not lift a finger against you for 3,000 years. Qianye Ying'er, are you trying to make me laugh? Yun Qi was completely dumbstruck by this turn of events. Wait, something's not right. Nominally, I am Xia Qingyue's husband, and Qianye Ying'er is her most hated enemy. No matter how you looked at it, she should have ordered me to never touch her, so why? Is this a conspiracy? Or is she just humiliating Qianye Ying'er? Very well. Qianye Ying'er's lips curled icily. But once again, Xia Qingyue interrupted her before she could form a full sentence. Qianye Ying'er, you should know that this condition of yours would never come true. So the only reason you mentioned this seemingly reasonable, but really laughable request of yours is so that this king wouldn't be able to turn down your next and final request. Correct? You are disgustingly smart. The temperature behind Qianye Ying'er's voice abruptly dropped a few degrees lower. Thank you for the praise. Unfortunately for you, you won't be speaking to me like this for a long time to come very soon. Xia Qingyue narrowed her eyes. Now speak and tell me your final request. Don't disappoint me with a boring request. Forget Yuan-Chi. Not even Qianye Ying'er could equate the moon god emperor before her to the delicate and powerless Xia Qingyue at the god realm of absolute beginning several years ago. It was as if there were two completely different people behind that flesh of hers. Although Qianye Ying'er was driven to this point because of Yuan-Chi's sky poison pearl, his mastery of light and darkness profound energy, the might of the heaven-smiting devil emperor, and her one and only weakness, Xia Qingyue was the one who had strung them all together into the perfect trap. Even their verbal exchange today was completely dominated by Xia Qingyue. It was to the point where Qianye Ying'er felt suffocated like never before. Ironically, Qianye Ying'er herself was the biggest reason why a lost Xia Qingyue was able to become the moon god emperor she was today. Finally, Qianye Ying'er revealed her last condition slowly, 2,000 years of servitude and no more. This is also my bottom line. Her voice was slow and forceful. She sounded like she was warning Xia Qingyue against rejecting her. If Xia Qingyue agreed to her request, then her period of servitude would be shortened by a third and more. Qianye Ying'er's current cultivation gave her a lifespan of around 50,000 years, meaning that 3,000 years was only about a 20th of her lifespan. However, time was hardly the thing Qianye Ying'er couldn't accept the most. It was the shame of becoming another person's slave. Every day she served under Yuan-Chi was a day of impossible shame, but there was no escaping her fate. Not only was Yuan-Chi the only one who could cure the Brahma heaven god emperor, her failure to drive Yuan-Chi into a dead end, when she planted the Brahma Soul Death-Wishing Mark, actually came back to bite her and drive herself into a corner today. There was no sense in regretting at this point. Right now, the only thing she could bargain over was time. Forget 1,000 years, she would accept a reduction of 100 years, or even a tenth of that. At first, Qianye Ying'er thought that Xia Qingyue would reject her offer without hesitation. She thought that they would be sparring with words for a bit and arrive at a final bargain in the end. But Xia Qingyue's reaction once again completely exceeded expectations. When she saw a mechanical, emotionless smile crossing Xia Qingyue's lips, she immediately had a feeling that Xia Qingyue had predicted what her final request would be a long time ago. Xia Qingyue opened her mouth and said something that stunned even the eternal heaven god emperor. 1,000 years. Qianye Ying'er immediately frowned at the unexpected reply. Yuan-Chi, Xia Qingyue turned slightly. Is that enough for you? Understanding her meaning, Yuan-Chi nodded and replied, Amen, that's enough. Good. Xia Qingyue continued with a smile that was completely detached and cold. You heard him, Qianye Ying'er. You wish to reduce your sentence by 1,000 years. This king agrees and reduces your sentence by another 1,000 years. Is there anything else you would like to say? Heh, he, Qianye Ying'er sneered. Your ability to scheme is far better than that trash Yue Wuya, Xia Qingyue. This king will take that as a compliment. Xia Qingyue didn't look angered at all by the comment. Good, 1,000 years, 1,000 years. Her gaze passed through her mask and fell on Yuan-Chi briefly. The price of saving her father and the 8 Brahma kings was a period of servitude of 1,000 years. Since her mother's death, this was the first time she had sacrificed herself for anyone in countless years. Even better, it was a kind of sacrifice that almost no one could accept. If none of this had happened, Qianye Ying'er herself wouldn't believe that she could go this far. Just like Xia Qingyue had told Yuan-Chi earlier, when a person was selfish in the extreme, the only familial tie she had left would actually become the one thing she couldn't lose no matter what. Who knew, who could even believe, that Qianye Ying'er, the selfish and almighty lady goddess whose only goal in life was the pursuit of ultimate power, would willingly call another person her master to save her father's life. At the very least, neither Yuan-Chi nor the eternal heaven god emperor had seen this coming. The eternal heaven god emperor thought that he knew the Brahma monarch goddess well enough, but her actions today had completely defied his expectations. His shock was at least several times bigger than Yuan-Chi's. So, your conditions are to treat the Brahma monarch god emperor and the 8 Brahma kings' accidental poisoning within 10 hours, to not harm your life or your profound energy, to not force you to harm the Brahma monarch god realm, and to reduce your sentence from 3,000 years to 1,000 years. Xia Qingyue reiterated unhurriedly. This king has agreed to all of your requests, and you don't have to worry about us breaking our promise with the eternal heaven god emperor acting as the witness. You still have time to change your mind, you know. After all, how can the life of a god emperor and 8 Brahma kings possibly compare to 1,000 years of the Brahma monarch goddess, freedom? HMPH, save your childish provocations for someone else. Qianye Ying'er's hands tightened bit by bit as her lips, a pair of things more perfect that even the prettiest of flowers, trembled slightly. Xia Qingyue, Yunqi, don't you forget what you said today. Don't you forget what happened today. Of course, it would be a shame to forget a wonderful day like this, don't you agree? Xia Qingyue said with a half-smile. Qianye Ying'er closed her eyes while breathing heavily. Eventually, a slow, desolate voice slipped out of her mouth. Now, let us begin. Obviously, Qianye Ying'er would like to push this as far back as possible. However, Qianye Fanshan's condition simply couldn't be delayed any longer.